other one? The goat, the brain, and
I was trying to think of that too. I can't remember.
I think it was the name of the president. I don't know. I'll experiment.
I don't even remember like what it was or what it was called.
No, I might have to. I used to have that on DVD actually. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Happy Halloween, Jordan, with the spooky Halloween jams coming into
Christmas
this one.
music.
I'm Dave Loughran at Lofty_D, LOUGHY_D. Hit your boy up. You're watching the Stokastic.com NBA Deeper Dive 7-game Monday slate tonight. And I'm joined by the man himself, Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS. Everyone's saying, yeah, the Batwing. That's what it was. Or the Bat. One of the other. How you doing, man?
It.
How you doing?
Oh, I'm good. Thinking about Batwings now, but no, I'm good. I'm looking forward to this slate a lot.
Good. Yeah, me too. How much? We don't need to get into the specifics here because we've gotten a decent amount of news. Like we got the Clippers news. I think that was pretty expected, right? With Covington, and we knew Kawhi, and there's a couple of other spots where we've gotten news. Like we don't have Joel Embiid in our projections right now, which doesn't surprise me. He didn't go through. Well, we have him at 0.5% on it, just so he didn't go through shoot around. How big is this Memphis news looming right now in context of the entire slate?
Oh, it's huge, and it's pretty unlikely that we get news by the time the slate locks. So it's another one where, I mean, it's going to be the case throughout NBA season, but if you're not planning on being around the late swap, probably limit how much you're playing tonight, unless we get that Memphis news. But because it's two huge pieces. Like if Morant's out, obviously that's one thing. If Bane is out, that's a big deal too. If they're both out, like holy shit, there's a ton of value. So it's just going to make or break the slate, basically.
It feels like that, Oh, hey, by the way, did you do anything for Halloween? You go to any parties? You have any fun?
How long have you been doing Halloween shows with me? What do you think?
No. Like over the weekend. Adults
I actually
do it on Halloween night if it's a Monday.
No, I stayed in over the weekend.
Okay. Would you go to a Halloween party, like a costume party? I picture you as the one, Jordan, back me up on this, right? Halloween party, you show up, but you're the only one that didn't put a costume on.
I mean, I've kind of done that at like bars, like where I know that everybody's wearing costumes. I'm just like, fuck this. I don't know if I've actually done it at a party.
Would you? Like it's a girl invites you, right? You're feeling good about this one, right?
I have to wear a costume then. If it's like
okay, so you do have a spot where you're like, all right, I'll put a costume on.
Yeah, and I have in the past anyway. Like,
okay,
I don't prefer it, but
what would you?
But if it's like if it's one of my friends having a costume party, there's like a 90% chance I'm just showing up and saying like,
sure,
yeah, this is what I'm wearing.
I was thinking, is it wrong to go as Jeffrey Dahmer?
I don't think so. It's been long enough, right?
It'd be such an easy costume too.
Yeah,
you put some big bottle glasses on.
Put on some glasses and
and like just have a head in an ice box.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Like people, when that documentary came out, there was like one person, when I was tweeting about it a lot, there was like one person that seemed mildly annoyed. Like he lived in Milwaukee and he was kind of replying like, yeah, we still try like not to think about that. Like blah, blah. It's like, dude, it's been 30 years. Like I get that you and I were not subject, born. But this is just fair game at this point.
For sure. Like I think I can talk about the Titanic now.
Right.
It's actually a good idea. Walk around with a closed ice box and open it up when you say trick or treat. And there's a head in there.
Yeah. So when you said that, I thought back to our previous conversation and Dick in the Box. And it all just came together.
All right. Let's talk basketball. Thank you. Thank you for all of you being here with us today. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. We're going to go through all 7 games. Then we'll flip the page over to Live Before Lock. Those guys will take you all the way up till 7 Eastern time. You've got Greg Ehrenberg, Eric Lindquist on that one. And then don't forget, little Monday Night Football action today between the Jamar Chaseless Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns. That's from 7 to 8:15. So dual streams here for NBA and NFL. We got you covered across the board. Ready to get into this?
Yeah. As much as John wants to talk about Halloween costumes more, I think we should get to basketball.
Who wants to?
John 67. 67, John.
Let me see this one. Should I find this comment?
No, it's not. I mean, it's not worth it.
Oh, yeah. There's always the one guy that's like, talk basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got an entire show for that. So you gotta ease into it here. Okay. Anyway, we got Sacramento, and I'm not doing this for you, John. I'm doing this on my own fruition because
I was going to talk about basketball anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Because it was happening anyway. Not sure how long I'd have a job if I just talked about, all of that shit. Anyway, Sacramento and Charlotte, two teams playing at top 10 paces this year. No surprise, you got a 231 total. Charlotte's defense has been okay. Sacramento's been terrible, but they are laying 3 points on the road. Obviously, still no LaMelo Ball. Terry Rozier doubtful in this one. So I think the Charlotte side definitely opens some things up. There's no denying that. But let's actually start with Sacramento. Before we get into some of the guys that are more popular, I did want to get your take on De'Aaron Fox today, because when you're looking at this slate, there's only 7 games, but there's a nice range of players like from 8K and up across the board that makes it tough to fall in love with all of them. Like you can't play all of them.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to me because I kind of just have like most of that group going under-owned right now, which means that it's pretty unlikely that I just like jam in 1 or 2, but I probably will just be trying to get to a lot of that range, whether it's De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, Drew Holiday, Cade Cunningham. Like there is just a ton of upside in that price range, including De'Aaron Fox.
Shout out to Chris Karen too for getting the Halloween stuff behind us. I'm liking this one.
It's good. So it got me this morning. I don't know. I guess I just wasn't really paying attention. So like there's the witch thing on the screen.
Yeah.
In the corner. And we're like 30 minutes into the show, and I guess I just hadn't noticed it. And I pull up I like flip back to the YouTube stream, and I immediately am like, what the hell is on my desk?
Did you think there was a ghost in your house?
No, I just thought like I had left like something sitting on my desk, and nobody had like told me that, I don't know, I had like a water bottle there or something.
Why is this thing wearing a Stokastic hat?
Yeah, like I didn't see what it was. I just saw this like giant object,
right,
like, where my arm would be.
So without even looking, just swat it away.
Right.
All right. So yeah, and look, I wanted to kick it off with that, just given how many top tier options there are, and not even necessarily like a Giannis, Jokic, Doncic type of night, but just a lot of guys in this 8 and 9K range. I think it's going to be very doable to build some of these lineups where you go balanced, but also have a couple of those 8, 9K guys, because outside of Giannis, who's very expensive, Ja might not play, and it looks like Joel Embiid probably isn't going to play either. So it would be Giannis and Durant on DraftKings at least, and he's 10K flat as the only guys at 10K plus.
Yeah, and right now it's tough to get there. That could change, like you said, if Embiid doesn't play. I still have him in for right now, but that's just because like it was an illness. So to me, I kind of view the shoot around thing as if he had gone through shoot around, I'd be really confident he's playing. But if he just doesn't really feel that great, like it doesn't seem like he would show up to shoot around anyway. So, but if he's out, like you're getting value there with Melton potentially, and then obviously guys like Harden and Maxey and Harris look better. But there's not a ton of value right now to get up to those Giannis type guys. And also, and I mean, we'll talk about it more when we get to him, but like he's not underpriced either.
Who isn't?
Giannis.
No, not at all. I mean, he's very expensive. Back to Sacramento though. I just set the table a little bit there, but back to the Kings. Pulling up our ownership projections, and if you guys want 3 free days of NBA content, all of our tools is free. If you use the link in the description, Jordan, throw it in chat as well. Just click that link, take advantage of it. No strings attached. If you don't like it, you can bounce. I think you will. But first 3 days entirely free. All of our tools, not Fantasy Cruncher. We don't own Fantasy Cruncher. We just host it. But our lineup generator is free. Very cool. And all of the tools, ownership, boom, bust, you name it, right? Player projections, everything across the board for those 3 days. So if you want to follow along, take advantage of those, use them and win some money with them, just click that link to take advantage. But with Sacramento, you have Kevin Huerter getting decent ownership on a 7-game slate. Sabonis, Harrison Barnes up there. Fox is around 10%, which I think makes sense. But it seems like there's a nice amount of 5K range players today that are getting some ownership, and I think rightfully so. Does Kevin Huerter fit that mold for you, though?
Yeah, I think so, just based on the fact that he's cheap. I think he's probably going a little bit over-owned, but he's 5,300 shooting guard, small forward on DraftKings, so you can fit him into lineups really easily. He's like he's capable of disappearing just because he's not, the first or second offensive option on this team. But 0.96 DraftKings points per minute so far this year. That is likely to come down a bit because he has a 70% true shooting percentage. But if he settles in around, 0.8, 0.85 fantasy points per minute, and he's going to play 33, 34 minutes on most nights, this is a, appealing game environment as well. I think Herter just looks like a good, kind of last piece in.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. What about Sabonis?
So Sabonis is an interesting tournament play to me because he's only 8,200 on DraftKings. And I think that's a result of just a lot of variance this year. He's been in foul trouble. The Kings have been in some blowouts. So it's pulled his average playing time down a bit. But if this game's competitive and he does avoid foul trouble, you're very likely to get 34 minutes from Sabonis, who's averaged about 1.25 DraftKings points per minute so far this year. Usage rates at 22%, assist percentage is at 27%, leads the team with an 18.5% rebounding percentage. So I think he's a little bit underpriced, just given the fact that if this game goes according to what the Kings would like, you're going to get more minutes than he's been playing this year. The issue is that there's a ton of opportunity cost at center today, and he's only center eligible on DraftKings. Not only do you have Miles Turner and Alperen Şengün both at 5,500, you have Pascal Siakam at 8,900, who projects a lot better than Sabonis. It's a situation where I think Sabonis can beat Siakam a decent percentage of the time. Like, obviously Sabonis is very involved, but you're still expecting more playing time for Siakam. He averages a little bit more fantasy points per minute as well. So the opportunity cost just makes it really tough to prioritize Sabonis and kind of just pushes him into, secondary tournament play status for me.
Yeah, there's a lot in that 5K range at center.
Yeah,
for sure. We'll get to all of that.
Yeah, and that's without mentioning, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, Jalen Smith. There's a lot.
Yeah, it really is. Are Harrison Barnes minutes enough for you to want to get there? Because he's strictly a volume guy, not in the type of volume shooting, but volume of minutes. Like, if he's not getting the minutes, Harrison Barnes is rarely going to pay off his price tag, even at 4,900.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's another one where, like, the playing time hasn't really been what you would like for a lot of the season, but the Kings have just been in some weird games. If this game's competitive, I'm expecting you get around 34 minutes from him. He's been bad from a point per minute standpoint, 2/3 of a fantasy point per minute, but that's likely to come up just based on, what Harrison Barnes is, what we've seen from him recently. He's likely to end up around, 0.75, 0.8 fantasy points per minute. At only 4,900, he's kind of like Herter to me, where he's probably getting a little bit more ownership than I would like, but if you like everything else in your lineup, there's no reason not to just kind of fit Harrison Barnes in there. Anybody
else from the Kings you want to touch on?
Yeah, I mean, got to talk about Keegan Murray here. 6K on DraftKings, not any sort of huge priority. He's only projected for 2% ownership. But on FanDuel, he's less expensive. And right now he is projected actually for only 14% ownership. So that's come down quite a bit since this morning. So not as strong a take as Josh and I had this morning, since the ownership has come down. Did seem like Keegan Murray was getting a bit over projected this morning. He's averaged around 3/4 of a fantasy point per minute so far this year. 19% usage rate, 6.8% rebounding percentage, just shy of a 5% assist percentage. So at his current ownership, I think he looks fine. If that were to go back up to where it was this morning when he was really pulling a lot, it's a spot where I think I would get away from him.
All right, let's talk about Charlotte. So we're not expecting Terry Rozier to play. You're not expecting Jordan. I didn't see that. I thought I was off. How much of a delay are we on, man? It's like 80. Yeah. Okay. It's like 80 seconds. I mean, technically it's my fault. There's no need for any, but, on the Charlotte side, we're not expecting Terry Rozier to play. We know LaMelo Ball is out. So in these games that obviously LaMelo has been out, and then you have no Rozier, you have at least an interesting allotment of players here that really do, like Dennis Smith Jr., not the highest usage rate, but assist rate is nice. He's getting a lot of minutes. His per minute production's been fine. But it's funny because you look at per minute production on all of these guys in these games that Terry Rozier has missed, they're not that far separated, right? Like you have Plumlee 0.94, Dennis Smith Jr. 0.94, Washington 0.82, Hayward 0.95, Kelly Oubre 0.95. I guess the best question would be, how do we differentiate them? Obviously positional scarcity, whatever, but all of them should be involved when you're taking, two of the highest usage guys off the floor.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult, I think, to really separate them. Gordon Hayward projects the best for me. I also have him playing the most minutes.
Oh, Rozier's officially out? Okay, my fault. I
Yeah,
thought he was
that just happened.
I did? Okay, good. I thought
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, Hayward's at 0.99 DraftKings points per minute this year, 26% usage rate. If you take Rozier off, it goes up to about 27%. One spot that's really interesting to me, though, and he is getting ownership as well, but Kelly Oubre, 0.95 DraftKings points per minute in the minutes he's played without Rozier so far, but only a 46.8% true shooting percentage. So where Gordon Hayward's at 55.9% and Dennis Smith Jr. is at 54.8%, averaging about a fantasy point per minute. Oubre's averaging about the same production, but he's been shooting really poorly. This is somebody that we know is capable of getting hot. And if he does, he's probably going to outproduce those guys. So he is getting some ownership here. We have him at 17% right now. We have Hayward at 18%. I'm probably going to get to more Hayward than Oubre if the ownership stays the same. But if we were to see there start to be a little bit of a gap there, I do like the idea of getting to Oubre, given how poorly he shot so far and the fact that that's likely to come up.
Yeah, and look, in the 4 games that Rozier has missed, the 4 consecutive games, Oubre's leading the team with an almost 28% usage rate. So
yeah, 26.5% overall without Rozier on the floor this year.
Yeah, it's nice. How many minutes do you think only because these games, some of these games have been kind of weird for Charlotte. His minutes have been kind of all over the place. How many minutes are you projecting the starters for in the event that this is a competitive game? And there's only a 3-point spread as well.
Yeah, so this was really difficult, I thought, to kind of hammer down minutes because Charlotte's another team where you've just seen a lot of different things. Like obviously Rozier was playing earlier in the season, and then you've had some blowouts, you've had some foul trouble. I went 31 minutes on Oubre and Washington, and I went 33 on Hayward and Smith. Or sorry, 32 on Smith, 33 on Hayward. I think that's pretty fluid, but we have seen when PJ Washington can avoid foul trouble, he's playing north of 30. Same with Kelly Oubre. If he avoids foul trouble, that's, kind of a big if, but both of those guys are averaging around 30 minutes per game. That includes the overtime game, but that's where I went. I think that there's a pretty wide range for those guys though.
All right. And how do you, this would be the best way to close this game out. Actually, how are you ranking just in priority order, this Charlotte team tonight? Cause all of them, not all of them, I shouldn't say, but a lot of them are getting decent ownership, and I think rightfully so.
Yeah. I think it's Hayward, Oubre, Smith, Plumlee. We forgot to mention him, but he's 4,600. His playing time hasn't been great, but he's another cheap center you can get to. His assist percentage this year is really high. Without Rozier on the floor, it's at 29.7%. He's averaging 0.92 DraftKings points per minute. So from a value standpoint, I like him. And then PJ Washington getting a little bit less ownership in tournaments. He looks pretty good. One other spot I wanted to mention that's getting basically no ownership. Jalen McDaniels pulling 3%. He's averaging over a fantasy point per minute this year. He's averaging about 25 minutes per game. And he also is kind of the next guy up. Like he can play multiple positions. So if Oubre gets in foul trouble, or if Washington gets in foul trouble, or if Hayward gets in foul trouble, you're probably just going to see more minutes from Jalen McDaniels. So I actually think McDaniels is going under-owned even in 24 minutes. And then there's the potential for him to get more.
Philly and Washington. All right. So Joel Embiid, you and I alluded to this earlier. It didn't go through shoot around. He's dealing with an illness. We'll see what happens here. I mean, if he doesn't play though, Tyrese Maxey, even going back to the start of last year, well over a fantasy point per minute guy with Embiid off the floor. Harden is going to obviously have his opportunities too, but it doesn't seem crazy to me, and you may completely disagree with me on this one, that in games with Embiid out, Maxey might be the number one as far as scoring goes. Like he's their best scorer when Embiid is off the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's the one over Harden, but it's definitely a huge bump for him because you've seen him clearly separate himself and be the 2A or 2B alongside Harden even when Embiid is in. Last year, once Harden came over, it was kind of Maxey and Harris both around like 19-20% usage. Maxey's clearly moved into that same area as Harden in terms of usage. It's just Harden gets the assists.
Right. And I don't mean one in terms of just like overall ball handling and, any of that stuff, but just in terms of shot volume, right? It shouldn't be Tobias Harris. It's not going to be PJ Tucker. It could be Harden, but Max has been lights out. Look, $6,000 on Maxey if Embiid is sidelined is just very simply against Washington too cheap.
Yeah, I agree. Even if Embiid's in, I think it's too cheap because of how many minutes he's playing.
Yeah, what did he get? 40. He played 40 in the last game that Embiid was out. And then
he's averaging like 38 minutes per game. Last game he didn't play a lot, but that's because he was in foul trouble in the first half. Then he played almost the entire second half.
Played 6 minutes in the first half.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I have him in for 37 minutes, even with Embiid in. He's got a 24.8% usage rate this year. Like, he looks really good to me, even if Embiid plays.
All right, so let's assume for a second that Joel Embiid is out. Maxey obviously going to be a pretty pop. Maybe we do have Embiid in and we're just projecting him for no ownership whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get much ownership.
Okay, well, we have him at we have him at 0.5%. So that's why I thought it might have been factoring that in. Maxey at 22% right now. I can update this to see if anything changed, but let's just play both sides of this one. In the event that Maxey or Embiid is out, you go to Maxey, you go to Harden. What do you look? And then DeAnthony Melton's been pretty solid himself at a dirt cheap price point. What do we do with the Philadelphia 76ers if there's no Joel Embiid?
So it's going to depend on the starting lineup, but assuming that they go with the starting lineup that they did when Embiid rested and they go to Melton, he's going to open up as one of the better values at 4K flat. He's somebody that we know can produce at a pretty high rate on a per minute basis, and he's likely to play a bunch of minutes if he's in the starting lineup. Similarly, if they decided to replace Embiid with Harrell or with Paul Reed, you're getting value there as well, though it would be a little bit less appealing because they are both center only, and the last thing we really need on the slate is more centers to play. So I think that Melton, if he starts, ends up being a more valuable piece than Harrell or Reed, but Harrell and Reed certainly would look good if they started as well.
Okay. If Embiid plays, I mean, any interest in Joel Embiid? And what do? You already said Maxey, if Embiid plays, is viable. Do you have any interest in the rest of the Sixers if Embiid is in?
So, I mean, I have interest in Embiid in the sense that, like, he projects well. I think I have him as the second highest scorer on the slate, but I just think it's going to be tough to get there when you consider the center position. Like, it's just not a spot where I expect to really be paying up all that frequently tonight, especially on DraftKings. On FanDuel, he's a little bit cheaper, easier to get there, but it's just, to get to him on DraftKings, you're just spending more money than you would be for Siakam or Sabonis or all of those 5K guys, so it makes it tough. And that's why I think that he's just not going to really get ownership. I think James Harden is playable, even if Embiid's in, the ceiling is there. But the issue there is that there's just a lot of comparable plays. You have Kyrie Irving in that price range. John Morant's a little bit more expensive. Halliburton's less expensive. You mentioned De'Aaron Fox already. There's just a lot of guys we can get to, and I don't think Harden really stands out if Embiid plays.
This is going to be fun. She's got all these people coming over with their kids that are downstairs right now.
You talking about your wife?
Yeah, I can hear it. It's guy's fucking working up here, Take it outside. All right, Washington. Okay, so with the Washington Wizards, what is the spread in this game, by the way? I want to pull it back up. 3.5. So Sixers only favored by 3.5. They're playing at a crawling pace this year, too. Like the slowest pace in the league, 216.5 total. Let's talk about Washington. Beal pulling nothing. I mean, essentially right now, if I had to guess just from looking at this team and not remembering exactly every other team, this has to be the lowest owned team collectively on the slate.
It's easily one of the least appealing teams, especially on DraftKings, because the issue is the pricing is pretty much correct. The matchup's not very appealing. On FanDuel, it's a little bit better because you get power forward center eligibility on Kristaps Porzingis, and he's only 7,100. So he's pulling 14% ownership, and you have Monte Morris at 5K flat, so he's pulling 15%. Both of those guys look pretty good on FanDuel. On DraftKings, they're just a lot more difficult, though, because Morris is a $5,400 point guard only. So he's not, he's $600 less than Tyrese Maxey. I would just rather go to Maxey. He's $600 less than Dennis Smith Jr. He basically just ends up being, a tournament pivot off of those guys in lineups here or there. And then with Porzingis at 7,500, there's a ceiling there, but you can't really project him for more than 30, 31 minutes based on what we've seen so far this year. And center is just absolutely loaded. So really, really difficult to get to this team on DraftKings. I think a little bit easier on FanDuel.
Ben Simmons is likely out today and then playing tomorrow. So we'll get to that game in a second. Let's move on then, right? I mean, are you good on Washington?
Yeah.
All right. Atlanta and Toronto. And by the way, for all of you who have submitted to the Hall of Fame segment, we switched it up a little bit. Going to be playing in the intermission between the Deeper Dive and Live Before Lock. So stick around for that. If you're looking to see your name or you're just looking to see some monster winners, I know you saw it before, but Steve Buzzard won like 400,000 or something insane in the course of a couple days to start off the NBA season. And you guys know, you just download the avatar, stokastic.com/avatar, use it, and then hit us up on Twitter. Tweet us at Stokastic HOF. You get a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, $120 value. We induct you into the Hall of Fame as well. So we'll do that during the intermission. Actually, Jordan and I pre-recorded something today, so we'll have that for you then, just to save some time. All right, Atlanta, my +3 against the Toronto Raptors. Trae Young's been nice this season. It's funny though, because you look at all of his rates, they're not that much different. Like his usage is right around where it was. His assist rate's actually down from last year. He's just been very, very good, even alongside DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, sorry, I hadn't aired. I'm trying to get a crunch run, and I had
You're
there.
good. Trae Young. I was just saying he's played great, even with Murray alongside him.
Yeah, he's been really good. He's actually got a higher usage rate so far this year than he did last year at 35.5%. Maybe that comes back a little bit, but playing 35, 36 minutes, he's just really good. The matchup isn't ideal, but 9,700, I think Trae Young is just another one of those guards in that price range, with Harden and with Fox and with Kyrie Irving that looks really, really good. Extremely involved as a playmaker as well, as you would expect. That hasn't changed either with Murray there. They're staggering their minutes, so you're getting 10 to 12 minutes of Young playing without Murray. 1.45 DraftKings points per minute so far, 35.5% usage rate, 40% assist percentage. I think Trae Young looks good again.
Does anybody else look good?
Not really. Young's the only guy really getting ownership here. Clint Capella at 5K, that's about as cheap as I think his price tag can get or will get. But the issue is that outside of if you're just using him as a pivot away from the more popular guys, he doesn't stand out as a great option. John Collins' usage is down a bunch so far this year. I do expect that comes up a bit. He's at 16.3%. There's just no way that holds. I expect him to get back to 19 to 20. 6,300 is a reasonable price tag, but there's just so many options in that price range that he doesn't look great. And as a result, he's only getting 4% ownership as well.
Yeah, and just you look at someone like DeJounte Murray, and in San Antonio, there was really nobody to compete for with assists, usage. If he wanted to take 20 shots a game, he could. And looking at it this year, 14.2 potential assists for Trae, 11.5 for Murray. It's not a bad number on its face, but when you're 9K plus and he's the type of guy that you need all of those counting stats for him to get there, I don't know. Is 9.2 just overpriced on him right now?
I think so, especially on a slate where there's just so many guards to get to. Like DeJounte Murray's been playing huge minutes. He didn't play as much in the back-to-back over the weekend, but prior to that, he was averaging 39 minutes per game, and he's averaging 1.2 DraftKings points per minute. So there's certainly upside there, but he's just really tough to get to over those other guys.
All right. Joel Embiid is out, by the way.
Okay, cool.
And for some reason, it's not Jordan's fault. It's whoever set the stream. We're delayed way longer than we normally are. I mean, usually Jordan, it's what, 6 seconds or something? Yeah, it's like 6 minutes. It feels like a long time. So just so you know, we'll do our best. We'll get that news in right away. If it hits you a little bit later than it normally would, that's because, well, we are delayed more than we usually are. All right. Let's go to the Toronto side then. Toronto Raptors. We say the same damn thing every time with them. They're all going to get a lot of minutes. Of course, we can pay attention to Fred VanVleet and his status, because that's certainly going to play a role here, whether or not he plays dealing with that. Back stiffness. I'm assuming you have Fred VanVleet in right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So then how do you proceed with the Toronto Raptors team that all gets a lot of run and all seem pretty reasonably priced?
Yeah, all going to play a ton of minutes. Siakam looks fantastic to me. was a little bit lower on him this morning than I am now. He just looks great. He's, averaging 38 minutes per game, 8,900 center only. Seems like it would be problematic, but I have him projected right now as like the fourth highest or third highest scorer on the slate now that Embiid is out. Harden might pass that, I guess, but third or fourth highest raw point projection for me on Siakam, playing huge minutes, averaging about 1.3 DraftKings points per minute. He has a 30+% usage rate. He's getting a ton of assists. The offense is running through him. I've mentioned that I think the usage rate comes down a bit because there's no way Fred VanVleet maintains a 16% usage rate for the entire season. But even if you come down to like 29% on Siakam, he's still going to look really good here. 14% rebounding percentage, 36.5% assist percentage. Really, really like Siakam. As far as the rest of the team, VanVleet, if he plays, Trent, Anunoby, Barnes, all look fine. I think Barnes and Anunoby would be the next two that I get to after Siakam.
All right. Favorite plays from this game?
Siakam, Young.
And that's pretty much it.
Siakam, Young, Barnes, Anunoby.
Okay. All right. 3 down, 4 to go here. Indiana, Brooklyn. I mean, my God, this should be an interesting one. 235 total. First of all, you've got Brooklyn Nets have the worst defensive rating in the league, 121.6. Pacers aren't far behind at 118.4. Pacers are playing at an elevated pace. 7th in the league right now. Again, no surprise that we've got such a high total in this contest. But let's start it off with Indiana. I want to kick it off with Halliburton because, like we talked about earlier, you just have a lot of guys in this price range that are really fascinating plays today. He's pulling around 12%. What do you make of Halliburton against a Brooklyn defense that's been so terrible? And he's been excellent.
Yeah, I love Halliburton here.
Me too.
Obviously, I haven't updated for the Philadelphia news since it just came out, but Indiana was my favorite team in general that I'm getting to on DraftKings, which scares me because in theory they should get killed by Brooklyn, but they just beat Brooklyn in Brooklyn. Brooklyn's been very disappointing this year. They're just underpriced on DraftKings, and Halliburton's included there. He's averaging about 1.3 DraftKings points per minute this year. You can't project him for quite as many minutes as other guys in that price range just because Indiana is Indiana. And not only is there a chance that this game gets out of hand, but he's only averaging 33 or 34 minutes per game. You've just seen some shortened rotations at times. So that's an issue, but 1.39 DraftKings points per minute, 26.5% usage rate, 45% assist percentage for Halliburton. He still looks really, really good at this price point. One of my favorite guard plays.
And then you have Miles Turner, 5,500. You have Jalen Smith, 5,500. I mean, Turner was out for a while. He's only played 2 games, but 32 minutes in that last game. Monster game. Pretty much a ceiling game for Miles Turner there. Although we didn't see a ton of him last season once this team got gutted. Jalen Smith, another one, 31, 34 minutes over his last 2 games. These price points in this matchup with a 236 total, I totally get why they're as popular as they are. Do you see these? I know you just said Indy's your favorite team, but are these guys that you could even see yourself getting above the field on or at 26%?
Yeah, they just look like some of the best values here. And it's a spot where there is volatility. Jalen Smith can easily get in foul trouble and lose minutes. But 25% ownership for him at 5,500 when if he doesn't get in foul trouble, he's playing 30 plus minutes. He's over a fantasy point per minute guy. He just projects really, really well at this salary. Same goes for Miles Turner, who played 32 minutes in his last game. Then he sat out on the second half of a back-to-back. Now he's back. If he avoids foul trouble and blowout, you can expect 32 minutes from him as well, over a fantasy point per minute guy, a ton of block upside too, which is really nice in tournaments from a volatility standpoint. So those guys both look great. 5,900 on Buddy Hield still looks pretty good. He's averaged around 1.1 fantasy points per minute this year, has shooting guard, small forward eligibility. All 4 of those guys look great. And then I'm a little bit better, or a little bit higher, I should say, on Mathurin than I think most of the industry is, just from an upside standpoint. We don't know yet the status of TJ McConnell and Aaron Naismith, but even if those guys play, Mathurin's averaging 27.5 minutes per game this year. If he plays well, he can easily be in the closing lineup over Aaron Naismith. He's got a 29% usage rate. He's averaging over a fantasy point per minute. I don't think he's the same level of priority as Turner, Smith, Halliburton, or Hield, but he's also getting no ownership at 6K. I think he should be getting more than 0 to 1% ownership.
And his name is Benedict.
Yeah, that's working against him.
No, I think it works for him, man.
Yeah.
Not a fan of the name Benedict?
I am not.
How many minutes is he playing with Halliburton off the floor? You would think it's a decent amount, right?
Pretty much all of them, I think.
Yes, 78 minutes this year so not all of them, but.
No, I mean, I'm saying, yeah.
Actually, yeah. So no, I get you're saying Yeah, when you're saying when Halliburton's not out there, he is out there.
Yeah, the
You.
exception being last game in the second half. He started the second half, so he played with Halliburton there.
Yeah, all right. Do you think it's just the fact I always look at a guy like this and I assume I'm gonna have to turn Alexa off. I got Alexa attached to the Ring doorbell and it's Halloween. I didn't think people would be here when it's still light out, and the dog's barking. This is great. It's probably just the fact that he's 6K and he's coming off the bench. Why?
Yeah, and that's why, like, he's not as good a play as, say, Tyrese Maxey or Dennis Smith Jr., because you can just be, you can count on their minutes more. And in Maxey's case, he's probably, even if Mathurin plays 30, you're probably getting 8 extra minutes from Tyrese Maxey. And, especially with Embiid out, Maxey's just in his own category now. But like, you talk about somebody like Dennis Smith Jr., I think he projects a few 2 to 3 points higher than Mathurin, but you have like 20 to 25% ownership going to Smith and 0 going to Mathurin. I'm fine just sort of splitting that. And then also you get small forward eligibility on DraftKings for Mathurin as well, which is pretty valuable.
Yeah, no, I was in agreement with you. I was just pointing out why, ownership on a guy like that, even though he played 30 plus last game, could be lower because, how the starting lineup works. It seems like one of those spots. God, he's coming in at no ownership at all.
Yeah.
That's and it's a great spot too. Plus, that same blow up game he just had was against this very same Brooklyn Nets squad as well. Anybody else you want to talk about? I guess Hield would be the only one. It falls off a cliff after that.
Yeah, I talked about Hield. The only thing I would mention is we do have McConnell and Naismith questionable. If they're both out, we got Duarte starting the game with Naismith out last time, and then he got benched and Mathurin started the second half. Not sure which one would start. We talked about Mathurin if he started a bit this morning. I would expect his usage rate to come down a little bit, but I think it's also likely that he would just cut into Halliburton's usage rate some. Halliburton had about a 22% usage rate last year. It's come up this year as a result of playing with like no high usage guys. But you would also get, more stable minutes from Mathurin. So I think it would kind of come out in the wash if he starts. His ownership would certainly come up though.
All right. A couple super chats here. Goody said, explain Mathurin rotations, please.
I don't
pretty
totally understand
broad
the question. Comes off the bench, plays a lot.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. And I would only expect him to continue to play more as the season wears on.
Yeah. I mean, he's just in like that standard 6th-man role where he comes off the bench. He closes a decent amount of the halves.
So Goody also had one earlier. Said Stokastic projections slap me back to reality after fading Donovan Mitchell. It's confirmed I'm not smarter than Alex's projections. Mitchell had a nice game for sure. Real nice game. All right. Brooklyn side. No Ben Simmons. And I keep checking to see if we're getting updates here. We should any minute now. Let's actually start with that. So Ben Simmons. Oh, okay. We just got one. Let me make sure Simmons is out of this one because I know when they run it takes. Okay. Ben Simmons is out of our projections. Like I said, 3 free days. If you use the link in the description, you want to follow along with these, no strings attached. One, what does it do for Durant and Irving? Obviously, Ben Simmons not a high usage guy. There's already a video of Irving screaming at him to shoot the ball under the basket. You guys can have it. But what does it do for the rest of this team now that Ben Simmons is out of the rotation tonight?
Yeah, I think it actually has a pretty big impact here because for a couple of different reasons. For one, you should see more assist opportunities for Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. They've both been around 20% in assist percentage this year, while Simmons is at 30 to 32%. So I think you see both of those numbers go back up for those two. But then the other thing that might go a little bit overlooked, Nick Claxton's been losing minutes at center recently. They've been staggering him with Ben Simmons, and then Claxton hasn't been closing. I think you get Claxton probably like 28 to 30 minutes here without Simmons. There's no real reason here that Claxton can't close. So I think it's a really big benefit for Claxton, and it gives you another center in that price range.
Will people be trick-or-treating in your complex? Like people that have families in your complex?
I don't know. I was actually thinking about that earlier because I didn't get candy or anything.
No? Okay.
But I thought about it earlier. I don't know if they will or not.
So
I don't think there's that many families in my building, but I'm not sure.
I was just curious because you're in the city. Like I'm in the suburbs. Our neighborhood's big, so people definitely. This neighborhood gets pretty wild. But so you just won't answer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything.
You should answer and just tell them sorry.
I mean, somebody said in chat, I have a bunch of singles.
Yeah, there you go. Just clean them first.
Open the door and just start throwing them.
Just clean them first.
Yeah.
Uh, any priorities for Brooklyn?
So I didn't have any. I think now Irving's going to look a lot better. I think Durant's going to look a lot better. And I think Claxton looks really good. But again, Claxton's still just in that mix with Turner and Lopez and Jalen Smith and everybody else, Şengün. But Kyrie Irving playing huge minutes. And then now, again, I think going to get more assist opportunities. He looks really good, I think. Kevin Durant's going to look pretty good as well.
Okay.
Royce O'Neal's playing huge minutes. He's 4,800. Nothing exciting there. He's averaging 2/3 of a fantasy point per minute. I think that he was a better play before value started opening up.
Yeah, we now have Durant as, like a top 10 owned player on this slate. Fringe there, right around that 20% range. I think it makes sense though. Plus, it's just such a good spot. I mean, the atmosphere for this game from a fantasy perspective is fantastic. Anything else from Indy or Brooklyn? If not, favorite plays from both sides. This is an important one.
Yeah, so I wanted to see last season, Durant played 15 games without Harden and with Kyrie. He had a 28.7% assist percentage. Kyrie had a 23.9% assist percentage. Compared to this year, Irving's at 22.2, Durant's at 18.6. So it does look like a benefit for both, but probably a bigger benefit for Durant as far as playmaking goes. So Durant and Irving from the net side. I also do really like Claxton, but hard to call him a priority when you have all the other centers. And then from the other side, Smith, Turner, Hield, Halliburton all look like priorities.
Yeah, all four of them. And like you said, obviously before the Embiid news, before the Simmons news, the Indy was one of your top teams. I'm assuming you're still going to get a lot of them regardless. So
yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. Shout out to our sponsor, by the way, No House Advantage. Dude, the overlay yesterday was out of control. Jordan, do we know if that even filled 50%? I don't know. But when we were on the deeper dive, it was at 12%, I think. Oof. 40, and that was 15K up top too. But in all seriousness, I don't, it's an awesome place to play. Really, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, it's very simple. You're just building lineups the same way you would build lineups for anything else, except there's no salary cap and you're using props with no juice. So if there's a player you really like, right, you're just betting the over on his props. You're betting the under on guys that you don't like. You're using our free No House Advantage projections and lineup generator over at Stokastic. Like I said, that is free. You get up to a $50 first match deposit bonus when you sign up using the link in the description or the one in chat that Jordan's going to throw in there right now. And as Ben always says, these props are static. They don't move. So if you're sharp with this, or you're just using the tools, you're going to have a distinct advantage. They have a lineup generator too on the site where you can MME with their lineup generator. You can pick the ones you like the most, and it'll make many lineups for you to throw into these contests, which is particularly useful when you're chasing that overlay close to lock. But you still got time, whether it's today, tomorrow. Check it out. Get the $50 first match deposit bonus. Use all of our tools, or you can test the skills against the house over there. 20 extra entry fee if you hit all of your picks. But yeah, again, you're just building lineups. That's all you're doing. The ones you like the most go at the top. They get the most points. The ones you're least confident go at the bottom. They get the fewest points. Yeah, so big contests over there. Overlays the big thing though. It's hard to find overlay like that these days, but No House Advantage is on the come up. And what you have to do in those situations is, incentivize people to play over there. And what incentivizes people more than a shit ton of overlay? So check it out. Links in the description. It's in the chat. NoHouseAdvantage.com. Use that link to get your $50 first match deposit bonus. Use all of our free tools over at Stokastic when you do as well. All right, let's keep it rolling here. On to the next game. You've got the Detroit Pistons, 13-point dogs, second leg of a back-to-back at the Bucks, 224.5 total here. Detroit, we'll start with the road team. Adam, when you look at this team, we've definitely seen some big games already from Cade Cunningham. But once again, it's that 8K range, a lot of opportunity because just in that range, forget about position even. What do you make of him first?
I mean, I love Cunningham at this price tag. I just don't love it on this slate. I just think
that's what I mean. Yeah,
it's really, really tough to say like, oh yeah, I'm just going to jam in Cade Cunningham today, because the next part of that is you have to say who you're not playing out of Tyrese Maxey, Dennis Smith Jr., Drew Holiday, Kyrie, Halliburton. Like, I think Cunningham's going a little bit underowned. I think he's got a massive ceiling. And if the Pistons hang in this game, it's likely because Cunningham has a massive game. But like, I don't want to get rid of any of those guys either. So I think it's likely that, maybe I get over the field on Cunningham, but I'd be surprised if this were a slate where I'm playing, 30, 40% like I have been on a lot of slates.
You even have like a Kevin Porter in that range whose usage and volume has been through the roof.
Yeah. And that's just talking about guards too.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's just the point, not the price range, but the position and the price range, which makes it really tough. Yeah. But I don't think, and of course too, they're playing the second of it back to back. They're huge 13. They're 2 touchdown dogs in this game.
Yeah. And he did play 39 minutes yesterday too.
Yeah. Right. He played a ton of minutes.
On the one hand is a positive, like they'll run him out there for 39 minutes potentially. But on the other hand, I mean, it doesn't make you feel great on a road back to back that your guy just played 39 minutes last night.
Yeah, a road back-to-back against the spectacular basketball team that is a massive favorite at home. Yeah. Right. So what do you want to do, though, with Isaiah Stewart? Because he's the one guy that at this price point, at his position, we talked about it earlier, the 8K guards, the 5K centers in a spot like this. He has power forward eligibility, though, which definitely is going to increase that ownership.
Yeah, Isaiah Stewart's the guy here I think I would get to the most. He's just another guy. Power forward center, 5,200. There's no Jalen Duren here, so if Stewart avoids foul trouble, I think you could actually see him play a lot of minutes. That is obviously a big if, but even at 30 minutes, he looks pretty good at 5,200. I don't think he looks quite as good as like your Jalen Smith, Miles Turner type guys, but certainly another solid option. We talked about Cunningham. I like this matchup for Bojan Bogdanovic. He basically does nothing but shoot threes. Milwaukee's happy to force wings to shoot threes. They would love to get the ball out of Cunningham's hands, get it into Bojan's. But he's also 5,700, and he projects as like a decent value at that price range. But the thing is, when you start comparing him to other guys in that price range at different positions, he pretty much looks like shit. So I think it's tough to get to a lot of him, even though I do like the matchup.
All right. Anyone else for Detroit, or is that good?
I think that's good.
Oh my God. I just realized I never even asked for likes today. We're 249. So appreciate those of you who have done so unsolicited. But usually we can knock out 500 likes in a video like this, no problem. My dumbass forgot to ask. If you haven't done so yet, hit that thumbs up on this wonderful Halloween evening. Let's rip this. We need 250 to get to 500. So it will be difficult, but if you haven't done so, atone for your sins and take that single second, click that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, get us north of 500 here before we turn it over to Live Before Like. I can't go downstairs, see all those people and hear them, let them know that we failed to get any like. It's an embarrassment, and my wife will throw my clothes on the front porch. So that should be enough incentive as it is. Also, Fred VanVleet is out. Also, Fred VanVleet is out.
Oh, yeah, I know. I saw that like 2 minutes ago.
Right. So let's back up. What do you want to do with the Toronto Raptors? I know you talked about it a little, but
we did talk about Toronto. I forgot we had talked about Toronto already.
I thought actually for a second that there was this game too, but no, we definitely talked about Toronto. Just a quick recap. Live Before Lock guys will cover it as well. But your quick thoughts on Toronto now that a key player in Fred VanVleet is out. Yeah,
so my assumption is that Christian Koloko gets a spot start. I don't have interest in him in fantasy. Sure as hell don't have interest in him on DraftKings where he is a center. But you do probably get more playing time for Achua and Boucher. I don't know which it'll be. The last game that somebody was out, when Barnes was out, it was Boucher's first game back from injury, so he only played 12 minutes. Last game, you got 22 from Boucher. He is only 4,100 on DraftKings. It's likely that him or Achua, who's 4,500, step into quite a bit more playing time here. I'm more likely to gamble on Boucher just because he has power forward eligibility and he's cheaper. Achua is center only, and so the opportunity cost is enough to probably keep me away from Achua. It also makes Pascal Siakam look better. It makes Gary Trent look better. It makes Scotty Barnes look better. Everybody that you were going to play from the Raptors just looks better now without VanVleet.
Slate's just getting wide open now.
Yeah, it is.
This is a problem.
This is all making, Toronto I guess not as much because they didn't really open up cheap value. But keep in mind too, like the more value opens up, the better Giannis looks also.
That's a good point. Yeah. And yeah, by wide open, I didn't mean just jam in everyone at the top with a few cheap players. I just meant there's now some really good players across the board on a lot of different teams. You don't always, how many shows have you and I done together where there's, 3-4 games on an 8-game slate where we just go, there's not that much here.
Yeah, which isn't really the case today. Like there's so many, excluding the Wizards, there's just like a lot of guys to like.
That's exactly what I mean by wide open. But we had a super chat from Travis, top 3 priority centers on DraftKings. Pick your poison, man. But
yeah, I mean, I think it's Turner. Let me see.
I mean, Şengün's a real nice play today.
Yeah, Turner, Şengün, Siakam, I think.
Okay. Let's keep it moving. Milwaukee side. You mentioned it earlier that yes, if some value were to, or a second ago, that if some value were to open up, there's no doubt Giannis looks a whole lot better. I'll be honest. I do have some concern about a blowout here, just given that Detroit's on the second of a back-to-back, massive dogs. But if he really is going to come in single-digit ownership, maybe there's something to that. Anybody you really like from Milwaukee?
Giannis, if you can get there. Drew Holiday, I think another guard in this 8K range that looks good. The 8K guards are the 5K, 5 to 6K centers on the slate. There's just so many. Yeah. I had mentioned on Saturday that Drew Holiday was very, very due for a good shooting game. We got it. We got like 66 DraftKings points. He's averaging 1.22 DraftKings points per minute this season, still only on 46.9% true shooting. So that jumped from like 39% going into Saturday, but he's still shooting really bad and averaging 1.2 DraftKings points per minute. That should reinforce like how high this guy's ceiling is. And it's a good matchup against Detroit. But, again, he looks good. He doesn't look like substantially better than guys like Halliburton or Irving or Fox or, pick a name out of a hat in that price range.
Anything else? You want to move on? We got 2 games to go.
Portis and Lopez look good. Lopez is another good cheap center. Portis is another good cheap power forward / center. You're probably getting around 24 minutes from Portis, 30 from Lopez. Do keep an eye on Lopez. He's probable with an illness. But yeah, they're both cheap. They both look good.
All right, 2 games to go. Before that, I have a question, Adam. Let's say you're down on your luck. You're wandering the streets on Halloween and maybe even trick-or-treating. And a man comes up to you and says, "Hey, I want to give you $200. It's in the trunk of my car, though. I just need you to come down the street with me here. And I've got candy, too." Would you follow him?
No.
Okay. What if BetMGM said, if you just deposit $10 and bet any NBA game, no matter whether they win or lose, we'll give you $200. That sounds a whole lot better, right?
It sounds like it's probably a less cool story, but I'm more likely to do it.
Exactly. It may be less cool, but it's a whole lot more profitable and significantly less dangerous. That's exactly what BetMGM is doing, though. You're talking about depositing $10, right? Even if you don't sports bet, take advantage of it. But I know plenty of you guys do. Plenty of you guys aren't at BetMGM. You might be DraftKings, FanDuel, not at MGM yet. You want to get another book. You want to shop odds, get those opportunities, and get $200 that you didn't have last time. This is what you do. Use the link in the description. Use the link that Jordan's throwing in the chat right now. Take $10. That's it. Doesn't have to be, it can be more if you want. Only has to be $10. Put it on any NBA game tonight, okay? Any NBA game you want, or tomorrow for that fact. I don't know how long this is going to be around. I assume a couple more days, but take that $10. Any pregame money line. I'd like to do, a small money line dog, because if you win, you get paid out. You still get the $200. If you lose, you still get the $200. It's legitimately a no-brainer. That's why they call it that. The only thing that needs to happen is a team hits a 3-pointer in any game, and you're in. $10 into $200. Even if you lose all the 200 and the 10, your downside is literally $10. Upside's limitless here. Take advantage of it, baby. Bet any NBA game, any pregame money line with that link. When you deposit $10, first-time user, you're turning it into 200. You got a brand new book to play on and a bankroll that you didn't have yesterday, and you only had to put $10 in for. So check it out. BetMGM, links in the description, links in chat as well. All right, Memphis, I want to turn this over to you. I'll just set the table quickly. We're still waiting on 2 huge pieces of news with John Morant and Desmond Bane. Let's just do 2 iterations here. If they're in, if one of them's in, and if they're out, because if they're out right now with them in, there's no ownership anywhere here, but this could change dramatically. And now you have another team that you have to account for among all the ones we've talked about.
Yeah, if they're in, this is kind of just like a tournament team to me. There's a massive ceiling on John Morant, but there's also a lot of opportunity costs at that position. Dylan Brooks at 5,800, playing, probably around 30 minutes. He's still going to look to get his, but We know he's a volatile shooter. Guys like Buddy Hield are just going to look better. So it's just, getting the Brooks at low ownership in lineups here or there. Same for Bane at 7,900. That's a pretty expensive price tag when Brooks and Morant are playing. Bane is still really good. He can certainly pay it off, but that's pretty healthy. But if you take Morant out and Bane is in, then you have the same situation you had on Saturday. Tyus Jones at 6K is going to look like another good, mid-range guard. You're going to get more usage for Desmond Bane. You're going to get more usage for Dillon Brooks. Those guys are going to look good. If you take out Bane and Morant, Tyus Jones looks really good. Dillon Brooks is going to have to just be chucking up shots, which I'm sure he will not mind. John Conchar probably plays a ton of minutes in that case. You're looking at probably more run for David Roddy, which I don't think we're really going to need at 4K, but he'd likely play a lot, especially if Jake LaRavia is out as well. Yeah, so it's kind of just Bane, Brooks, Morant. If one of them is out, the other two benefit. If they're both out, Brooks benefits. Tyus Jones benefits if Morant is out. Conchar probably benefits if anybody is out.
Okay, PSA said, LOL, that's a wild promo read. I just read what they put in front of me, man. I'm kidding. Nah, that's made up on the fly, baby. You got to keep it interesting. And no, I'm talking about if Adam was a grown adult. You guys have sick minds. I'll tell you that much. Utah. And listen, live before lock is going to be critical. Stick around. They're taking you up till tip off. It's going to be critical for a lot of the news that could be breaking. It is every single day. But while we're at it, what do you want to do with the Jazz?
Play them. I mean, I guess their relative value has gone down a little bit since the show started, but Lauri Markkanen in particular looks fantastic to me. 7,100 small forward, power forward eligibility. Leads the team with about a 26% usage rate this year, but he's also rebounding and getting assists, which is something we didn't really see in Chicago. He used to be a really scoring dependent player on lower usage. Now 26% usage, 14.5% rebounding percentage, 13.5% assist percentage, averaging 1.1 DraftKings points per minute, probably giving you 35 minutes in a competitive game. He looks really good. And then behind him, all of Clarkson, Olynyk, Conley, Vanderbilt seem like, decent kind of filler type options.
All right. So very much looking forward to this Houston game. And listen, Alperen Sengun is a very solid play today. They're going up against the very shorthanded Clippers team, but we kind of teased it earlier. Kevin Porter at 11% is kind of nice. I know he hasn't had that monster game yet, but he's played 34 or 35 minutes in every game. So you know how many minutes you're getting from this guy. You know that his usage is going to be through the roof. He's getting to the line at an impressive clip. And really, as a rebounds and assist guy, he can rack them up across the board. I like what he produces from a fantasy standpoint every single night. Yeah,
agreed. And that's what really stands out if you look at rates for Houston. You know that Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green both can light it up as scorers. 28% usage rate for Porter, 27 for Green. But the difference is that Porter has a 10% rebounding percentage and a 25.5% assist percentage compared to Green with a 6.5% rebounding percentage and an 11% assist percentage. So you're getting 1.18 DraftKings points per minute this year from Porter compared to 0.93 from Green. Obviously, Green can get hot and give you a massive game, but he's a lot more scoring dependent than Porter, and Porter, has the higher usage rate as well. So I'm with you. I think Porter looks good here at 7,600. Green, never a bad play in tournaments, but Porter really stands out as another very good guard in that range. And then obviously we've alluded to Sengun a few times, but should be starting tonight, likely to give you around 28 minutes, over a fantasy point per minute guy, 1.28 so far this year, 25% usage, 20.5% rebounding percentage, 7.7% assist percentage. Rebounding probably comes down a little bit. Assists probably come up a little bit. He looks really, really good. After that, there's not a whole lot that I like here.
Dude, last year I was betting on every day Jalen Green over 3.5 made threes props. And I mentioned that because this guy's shot volume from beyond, I know you were talking about, but this guy's shot volume from beyond the arc is one where if he does heat up, you're getting those insane games. The problem is if he's cold, which he has been recently, God, his shot volume is insane. What's his usage rate this year?
Green?
Yeah.
26.9.
That's pretty solid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Still behind
on this
Porter.
team. What's that?
Still lower than Porter.
Yeah. For sure. And less peripherals too. But
right.
All right, Clippers. We'll wrap it up with this. No Kawhi Leonard, no John Wall, no Robert Covington. What's that do for the LA Clippers tonight at home in a good spot against Houston?
It makes them look good. Not as good now as they looked an hour ago. But Paul George, 9,300 on DraftKings looks fine. 8,200 on FanDuel looks a lot better. Peripherals haven't really been there for him this year, which is pulling down his rates a little bit, but still has a 32% usage rate without Kawhi on the floor. So by all means, get to Paul George. Reggie Jackson should play a lot tonight without John Wall. He is, I think, sub 5K on FanDuel. He's 5,300 on DraftKings. So he's going to look pretty good. Marcus Morris, 4,900, looks fine. Norman Powell is 4,300 on FanDuel. Even if he comes off the bench, you're probably getting mid to upper 20s in minutes from him. Terrence Mann is cheap. Zubats is another high upside center. I don't think there's one guy on DraftKings from the Clippers that like stands out at this point as a huge priority for me, but I'm just happy getting to like any of these guys, just mixing and matching them in lineups. On FanDuel, I think that Reggie Jackson looks like a bigger priority than he does on DraftKings at 4,800. Same goes for George at 8,200 and Powell at 43.
Hey, follow Adam at Ship My Money, DFS, Mia Lafayette _D. Shout out to Jordan Klein. I'm not going to, we don't have time. Anyway, stick around. Live Before Locks coming up next. Eric and Greg. But first, you get to watch me one more time with the Stokastic Hall of Fame. Oh, we're 7 likes away from 500. Get us there before the start of that show. Have a good rest of the night, guys. Go get some candy. Peace. All right, here we go. It's Hall of Fame time, baby, where we showcase all the big wins from the Stokastic family, hand out some subscriptions to Stokastic Plus Platinum, and induct you fine fellas into the Hall of Fame. Let's go. All you got to do to make your way into the Hall of Fame, very simple. Download the Stokastic profile picture at stokastic.com/avatar. Then use it wherever you play. Doesn't matter. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more and tweet your wins to Stokastic Hall of Fame on Twitter at Stokastic HOF. Not only are you getting here up on the board, brag to your friends, we'll do it for you, but you win a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum on top of that too. Huge come up for anybody getting here on the board. Just like our boy, Steve Buzzard. Well, he doesn't need a subscription because he's working hard behind the scenes on these very tools that you're using, but a massive couple of days for him. The Colts with 200K wins in a night, follows it up the very next day or a couple days later, not quite sure what it was, with $250,000, smashing the NBA game early on, and he left a little note. Whoever said everyone wins at NBA DFS must have been a Stokastic subscriber. Not a bad start to the season. No, not at all. Congrats, Steve. And congrats to you, David. Read Schmidt and Emacs NBA Top Plays article and blindly threw in a free roll lineup that had me solo first and $10,000. Gas station hot dogs are on me. Little reference to Matt Gajeski there. Next up, Lance Simpson. Got another one on No House Advantage. Thanks to Stokastic again for getting me to play at NHA. Yeah, just overlay Central over there. You're going to make money. And Steven took down 1,700 in the 50-cent mini-max. Love the VOD series. Massive ROI there. Coming up next, you got Josh. Feeling cute, might delete later. Listen, fantastic NHL analyst, $5,000 win, but that tweet made me insanely uncomfortable. Next up, you got Max. Distant second place, but good night. Great projections and insight on the show today. 750 again in the mini max. And remember, it doesn't matter if it's a 5 cent, 10 cent, $100 entry. As long as you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, rocking the avatar and tweet those wins to us at Stokastic.
What's happening, guys? It is time for a Halloween version of the NBA Live Before Lock show here over at Stokastic. As you guys come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Eric Lindquist is going to be embarrassing himself for the next, would have been 60 minutes, 54 minutes now at this point. Loughran and Adam ran a little bit long. So, Eric, explain to the people what it is that you were dressed as today.
I'm the referee of every Vikings game in the playoffs ever. I am a blind referee. I got to find my mouse. Where'd it go? Oh yeah, got it. There it is. Found it. Oh shit.
There we go. Now we see the acting chops really coming in strong for Eric here. By the way, also when it comes to people thinking the referee screw, I've never heard anybody ever say that. Boy, the referees really benefited our team today. there might be bias involved here.
I've never seen a Super Bowl as
You've
long
never
as
seen
I've been
anything because you're
alive.
blind. You got to stay in your character.
I've heard Super Bowls from other teams. I've never heard a Super Bowl for the Vikings before. What?
There we go. All right. So Eric is going to be. I'm curious to see how much he's planning on leaning into this today, because we have got just an insane NBA slate in terms of players that just got ruled out. Not even the guys who are listed as questionable. We still have John Morant questionable, Desmond Bane questionable. That is going to be massive as far as the Grizzlies. Can you hear the doorbell ring behind me, by the way?
All I do, my four senses are just so fantastic. My hearing, I could hear it a little bit.
I figured you would be the person asked, but I'm actually seriously asking if you could hear it behind me, because it's going to ring the entire show with kids trick-or-treating.
You just asked me to be serious wearing this.
Yes. Can you hear the doorbell ring behind
No,
me?
I can't.
All right. Eric's going to drive me crazy today. So anyway, the slate, we got a ton of injuries today. And then in addition to all the players that are questionable, Joel Embiid was just ruled out. Fred VanVleet was ruled out. Eric, of all of the players that were ruled out in the last 20 minutes, who's going to impact your lineups the most?
Can I say equal? I mean, Fred VanVleet's huge because that's a lot of minutes. That's 38, 39 minutes that we're going to be allocating elsewhere. Just the Nick Nurse rotations, you know how this works. It's going to be wild putting that together. Joel Embiid, it's less appealing. I mean, DeAnthony Melton, are we going to go right back to the well on something like that? I just want to see the starting lineup and getting some confirmation there. There's going to be pieces of value that you're going to want to have sprinkled into your lineups. And then, I mean, it is such a roulette wheel of a slate when it comes to this Memphis situation. So as it stands right now, I would say 1A in terms of news, probably Joel Embiid out, because now you have Maxey, you have Harden, William. Oh, God, this is just going to be ridiculous. And then I'll say 1B being Fred VanVleet.
Yeah, the Harden one obviously is massive.
Embiid, you mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm just talking about Harden in terms of Embiid being ruled out. So,
yeah.
So the reason that this is going to be annoying for my standpoint now, the other day we had Joel Embiid ruled out as well. I'm jamming James Harden on that slate and have his worst game of the season in what should have been a very favorable spot for him. Now, I have to ask you, how much does that weigh on you in terms of what we saw Harden last game? Is the reason to think with Maxey being a higher usage guy, then maybe Harden doesn't benefit quite as much this year with Embiid out, or was it just a one game we could throw it in the garbage?
One game, throw it in the garbage. Also, it's not like Toronto can't do something schematically where they could limit some of the opportunities for James Harden. Sure, I think the assist opportunities, I think you saw those go down. I think that makes some sense when you just think about it from a real basketball perspective. You put him and Embiid in any kind of a pick and roll situation, or James Harden creates, and you have an outlet underneath. I do expect that we have a decent enough sample size from the end of last season, but that's something that could take a dip. But you saw it go right back up to 11 with Embiid. Maybe that's the thing to be a little concerned about, but I'm not, because he can just add it up in so many different ways. He shot the ball, 9 times? 9 times he shot the ball in that Toronto game. I do not expect that to be the norm going forward. He was 2 for 13 now against Chicago. I'm playing FanDuel primarily today. He's got multi-positional eligibility. He's point guard, shooting guard. Him and Maxey are just fire it up at will.
Yeah, I'm about to not rerun my lineups. Basically, I only have placeholders and running my lineups for the first time, because this was a slate where, did you build any lineups earlier in the day? I just built placeholders.
No.
And looked at the injury report and thought it is going to be a total waste of time if I start building lineups early.
Why would I do that? I don't know if I've built a lineup before a show other than maybe a placeholder like right before we're coming in. I'll build out lineups in Cruncher and kind of refresh those. But it would be such a waste of time on a slate like this. I think the main exercise that you do it for is if you're playing cash, you kind of want to have your pivot set up. You also want to do I can't remember what slate it was. We hit the absolute nuts on that. Luka Doncic, played him 96 or 100% of lineups, and then kind of got all the pieces. Steve Buzzard won $500 million or something. It was ridiculous. But it's kind of reminiscent of that slate where the more optimization you have for those later pieces of news, the better. It can definitely go poorly for you, like it did on Friday for me as well. It can definitely flip on the other side there, where I can't play basketball for Jose Alvarado at 3,900. But looking at this Memphis piece, just find some salary ranges where, all right, I know that I can get to as much Tyus Jones as I humanly possibly can in the event that you get Morant or Bane. Either one of them is going to bring Tyus Jones into play for me. Dylan Brooks, you just want to have like those salary ranges in mind.
Are you willing to forego Sixers value to open up roster spots for the Memphis game? Because the Sixers game is the first game to lock on the slate.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about a 230 total. It opened at what, 236? It's come down because of the news and Morant and a lot of other, and Desmond Bane, obviously, both of them there. I am not willing to give up anything on the Memphis side because you get rid of Morant and Bane, everybody's 6K and below. You do not have that same situation for the Sixers. And I don't call Harden or Maxey value, like on FanDuel at least. Maxey's 6K on DK. That's a different conversation because he is quote unquote value there. D'Anthony Melton, it's not like I'm going to forego that. I don't have to completely pass out on it, but because Melton has the point guard, shooting guard eligibility, you could put Maxey, Melton, point guard, shooting guard. You still have two more guard utility spot. It's not going to be that difficult to quote unquote forego it. So no, I'm not willing to.
So one thing that's kind of helpful as I'm building out lineups now, I have noticed that just based on nothing other than projections anyway, I get to a good amount of guys like Kelly Olynyk, Lauri Markkanen, Jared Vanderbilt. So I'm going to have exposure to that game anyway, and that's going to make it easier for me to get to some of those other guys. But for me, like, James Harden's my favorite pay up option on the slate right now.
Yeah.
I was before when I was talking about, hey, should we be concerned at all? I was kind of waiting to hear your answer. But for me, I can't be that concerned about James Harden have his worst game of the season the one time Joel Embiid is out. By and large part, I expect his fantasy production to be a lot greater in games that Embiid does not play, which I think there's a good chance it's going to be a lot this year. Joel Embiid is already banged up and we're 2 weeks into the season. He's dealt with plantar fasciitis in the offseason, and I suspect that Harden's going to be really good by and large part when Embiid is out, even if he wasn't in that first game. As for the other guys, though, I'm assuming that Melton starts. If that's the case, he's going to be somebody I get a whole bunch to. I'm assuming the same starting lineup is what they did last game.
I am too. And they said PJ Tucker at the 5. So that's cool. So that's kind of what keys you in there. So we don't need to see it. You just want to get confirmation because Glenn Rivers is an a-hole and you never know.
Not our favorite person around here. And I have to stop looking at you. It throws me off every time.
Deal with it. Okay. We all have things that we have to deal with. Yours seems pretty insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Is dealing with me in costume for 1 day out of the year. Deal with it.
Yeah, it's not even 1 day. It's actually 56 minutes.
Deal with it.
Yeah, it's difficult. And I also want to know, what is your expectation for that Grizzlies game? Do you have any kind of lean on whether Morant or Bane are going to play? As of right now, Morant questionable, and he sat out the Grizzlies last game. Desmond Bane dealing with ankle soreness, also officially listed as questionable.
You kind of want to make some stands. Like you kind of want a piece. Oh, Aaron Nesmith out. Okay, interesting. But you kind of want to make some stands and see what your lineups look like, and then go through, and that's what I'm going to be doing for the next 45 minutes as I'm shoring up everything from the Sixers side, is figuring out like what are the implications for what my lineups are going to look like. You do have Paul George as a means of dumping some salary and getting some stuff. If you want to have like a spend up there where you can maybe with a couple of open spots, which you should have for other Memphis pieces already, you should kind of have that open. But my impression is that Ja Morant sits. And I don't know about Bane. I think he's more of a 50-50, but Ja Morant's looked so good in the early going of this season. He plays such a ridiculous style of basketball. He's so explosive, so athletic, but doesn't necessarily have the large frame to go with it. If you're Memphis, you're playing Utah, you should have an opportunity with Tyus Jones, one of the best backup point guards in basketball, to still find some kind of success. Now, Dylan Brooks just joined back, and oh my God, I don't even know what I want to do with him yet. I'm sure I'm just going to have way too much regardless of anything else if Ja Morant gets ruled out. But Desmond Bane, I think, is more in the 50-50 type of situation. I want to get to some of him preemptively. I don't think Ja Morant is somebody that you really have to build in preemptively because he is 9,900. He's going to be low owned. So if you want to get to like 5-10%, go ahead and have that. But there's other spend ups I prefer. You said Ja Morant, or not. You said James Harden. I think Giannis Antetokounmpo for FanDuel purposes makes a lot of sense on DraftKings. He's 12.5. Hello, how are you this fine Halloween? That's a ridiculous tag. But I think just by building Morant out, I get to Memphis pieces that I want. I'm getting to a little bit of Bane preemptively. And then if you can make way for as much Morant as possible, sweet. But like, he's already not a priority for me.
Yeah, so I am assuming Morant plays. I think he's fairly likely to. He missed Saturday's game with an illness. It's been a few days now. You know how, because he popped up on Friday.
Yeah,
as
it was Friday
questionable on the injury report. So it's been 4 days that he's been sick now. I assume that that's enough time where he should be okay. Maybe not though. But even with that said, even with me putting him in, I don't really get to him because he is fairly expensive on both FanDuel and DraftKings. Like you said, the 9,900 on FanDuel, 10-4 on DK. And there's other guys to pay up for today. We've got Giannis, we've got Harden, we've got Kyrie and Durant. There's no Ben Simmons in the mix. And that does make a little bit of an impact. It opens up a lot more assist opportunities for both Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Because Simmons, as much as he hasn't scored the basketball this year, he has something like 8 assists in all but one game so far, and he leads the Nets in potential assists. Somebody else is going to have to play make for them. I presume it's going to be split between Kyrie and Durant, so they both benefit to a smaller extent. But yeah, it's an interesting slate. There's a whole lot of moving parts and probably some more news coming as well. So guys, once again, if you haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you guys are in our Discord channel, have any questions for us, fire those in and I'll be answering those. One of the perks of having a Stokastic Plus membership. And also, if you guys are not signed up yet, we have a 3-day free trial. So no risk to you. Check it out for 3 days. Get in the Discord. Check out all the tools on the site and see if it's something that you do like. Do you think you would be interested in long term? Getting to some of the questions we have so far. First, the super chat from C. Moss. Is Isaiah Stewart worth the pickup today? So Isaiah Stewart is playing against the Bucks today.
Well, we just got ruled. We got Neesmith ruled out while we were talking about everything. So we were kind of middling his minutes. He started the last 4 games here for the Pacers. I want to see the starting lineup. That's going to be what? Yeah, we'll get that when we're on the show here. And you're going to have enough Memphis pieces if you're doing this correctly that you're going to have some swap ability to do something there. But Isaiah Jackson is in no way, unless he's starting, somebody that you want to be. Go ahead.
It's going to be Duarte playing like 18 minutes and scoring.
That's exactly what I have. Yeah, he's just quack. He's not very good. So we don't have to worry about it. God, I'm not going to get to anything from the Pacers outside of Miles Turner on DK and Tyrese Halliburton on DK. Like, what else do you want to possibly do? If you want to run into the random Buddy Hield game where he goes 7 for 13 from 3, go ahead. He's been quote unquote shooting it well for whatever that's worth here the last 4, but I don't really find him at 5,900 all that appealing when I know Dylan Brooks is coming down the pipeline in that Memphis game, and there's a lot of opportunity for him if you get Mr. Morant and Desmond Bane ruled out.
That was such a long answer to the super chat, and I don't think it answered the question.
It did. What I think about Isaiah Jackson, don't play him.
No, Isaiah Stewart.
Oh, Isaiah Stewart. See, it would have been nice if you had just like interrupted me and said, I was just confused. I didn't know what you're talking about. I was like, maybe his hearing's going too. Sometimes that's, something that could be correlated. I don't know. It could be one of your senses goes, maybe the other one starts to go. Brooke Lopez just downgraded to a game time decision. Oh, there it is. Found it. There it is for you. Found it. Happy Halloween, Greg.
Are you going to answer the question or not?
He's fine. What site?
Yeah, that is a good point. So as far as DraftKings goes, I have Isaiah Stewart in some. I have Brooke Lopez in lineups, and I'm also going to have to remove him. Isaiah Stewart's been playing a bunch of minutes for them. He's been pulling down a whole bunch of boards. Pistons playing some smaller lineups. Also, no Durant for them today. That also probably solidifies the playing time for Isaiah Stewart. So $5,200. Yeah, I think that he's somebody worth getting to. We have him projected for 17% ownership over on FanDuel. On DraftKings right now, he's projected for 21% ownership. So he's somewhat popular, but I think it more or less makes sense. I don't think he's somebody to be massively above or below the field on.
Yeah, on FanDuel, 16.7%. I've got him in 8% of my lineups that I just crunched as I fixed everything from Brooklyn. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, he's fine. I don't find any kind of a reason. You're obviously going to factor in, they're 13-point dogs in this game. It's a very hard spot to really envision Isaiah Stewart going out and smashing, but with no Duran there, it's just going to be a lot of him if he can keep his damn hands to himself. So he makes some sense, but once again, going to probably get to a lot less if we get Memphis news before that game.
Yeah, and the other thing too with Isaiah Stewart, because you mentioned the fouls, it is something that's been an issue in the past, at least this year. He's only gotten into foul trouble in one game, so I'm hoping that that's something that he's going to be a little bit better with. But like you said, if we get news the Memphis guys are out, that would change stuff. But also, what could change stuff? Brook Lopez now being listed as questionable. Which,
that came
given
up.
how late this news came out, I'm going to assume he's probably not likely to play.
I'm going to guess he's definitely not. They're 13-point favorites. This is fascinating because Bobby Portis was already somebody that, if you want to talk about guys that I was playing on FanDuel, he's 5,800 with multi-positional eligibility. He got a lot more popular than I think the 11.5% that we have listed right now. I was already getting north of 25% of him. I thought he was a fantastic play for today. He's somebody that too can shut down with a second unit, where I don't think he's really quote unquote protected the way some of the other guys in the starting unit are, where if this game blows out, they're up 20. I bet he could still get close to closing, at least coming off of the bench and kind of being that guy. So Bobby Portis, I already had my eye on, already liked him, and now I like him exponentially more, but so is the field.
Yeah, and I'm actually hoping here that we don't find out until, because officially game time decision here, I'm hoping we're not going to find out about.
It won't matter, though. Enough people are going to backload lineups, you would think. Maybe they're not. Maybe you're right about that. Everybody go trick-or-treating today. How about that?
Yeah, by the way, also something I could, my doorbell's ringing so frequently, I can't even hear
I can't hear it at all. So legitimately, took the glasses off. I'm super high alert now, but so couldn't hear it.
From my standpoint, it's an actual issue, though. Even if you guys can't hear it, I can. It's a problem for me. But as far as Brook Lopez goes today, he was listed as probable on the injury report, but I think this is a little bit concerning. I had him in my player pool. I'm just going to take him out now.
Yeah, you're not going to play Brook Lopez. Again, illness, game time decision. It might as well just say elderly rest. Like, it's whatever. You're not going to play Brook Lopez today. There's no point.
Yeah, let me check. I was going to, but I'm not going to now. Even if he's active, I'm a little concerned that he's not 100%. And also the game having a 13-point spread. So there haven't been any games yet this year that I've taken players out or limited them in any way because of the blowout risk. Is this a game where we should consider it? 13-point spread, Pistons on the road on the tail end of a back-to-back, coming off a big win over the Warriors yesterday. Is this a spot where maybe we want to limit some exposure to Bucks players because of potential blowout risk?
I will say there's just not a possibility at 12K on FanDuel that I'm not going to play a lot of Giannis. I think we're going to have a ton of value later. It's the exact same puzzle that we put together last Friday that I thought was the right way of going about it, where I wanted to pay up and spend up for some of the studs. Now, the 7K range went completely ballistic on an 11-game slate or 12-game slate, whatever it was. But on a 7-gamer like this, give me some raw points in Giannis and then the possibility of value coming up. We'll also have an hour. Hopefully, I don't even know if I want the Memphis news before that game or not, just because less people would have access to getting to Giannis. He has ended up quite a bit more popular on most slates than what we've been projecting. I don't know what that's all about, other than people really do prefer going stars and scrubs, and you kind of should when value shows up. That's the way that you should be building it out. But I think Bobby Portis, I said, that was just a guy that I liked regardless, because he's proven that he'll get some of that late run, even in some of these blowout games. Now, Giannis has been playing later and later into games. I was just going through the box score and popcorn machine of the game against Atlanta. That one stayed a little bit closer, but I'm going through some of these blowouts, and it seems as though he is closing down the fort quite a bit here. Bobby Portis against the Knicks played all the way till the 249 mark, and then they brought in everybody else, and they kept Giannis out on the floor, actually up 15. That's wild. But lots of different times where he's been out on the floor in the closing lineups, and that made me already intrigued to get to him. So I think he's quote unquote blowout proof.
Yeah, I mean, he's really good, and you do figure if they blow out the Pistons in some form, that it probably means Giannis played really well. It's hard to imagine they win by a lot of points and Giannis just has a bad game. I'll be interested to see what ends up happening with Brook Lopez later on in the night. Some more super chats that we have here. First, this one is that was the Isaiah Stewart one. The next super chat was here from Kyle Y3. Thoughts on Marcus Morris and Sabonis on FanDuel? Also, Brooks the GOAT.
Brooks is not the GOAT. Stop it. You were on the wrong show if you're going to call Brooks the GOAT.
So if John Morant and if Desmond Bane both get ruled out, I'm gonna
He'll
hope
be GOAT.
I know I fucking hate that guy, but I'm gonna hope he's the GOAT if those guys get ruled out, because he's gonna be in as many of my lineups as possible.
Yeah, it's just disturbing, actually. He's really good. He's really good for today. If you get the other two out, here's the question though: how much do you want to get to if John Morant plays and Desmond Bane sits?
Like very, very limited amount.
See, isn't that wild? That like if you don't have Ja, I still will get to Dylan Brooks. If you have if you have Desmond Bane ruled out, you would think it would still be an upgrade, but not really to me. Like I would want to probably get away from it. Like Ja is kind of the key to the entire thing more than Dylan Brooks, even though you would think like, oh, Dylan Brooks, that would open up more opportunity without Desmond Bane, who's been going nuts. But like, I legitimately want Morant out more than anything else.
I mean, yeah, he's the
Pretty
higher
obvious.
usage guy. Bane has been insanely good this year, though, also. But I mean, if both of them are out, it just opens up so many shot opportunities, and it would be hard to avoid Dylan Brooks in that scenario. Even though Brooks has been playing with limited minutes, I think we'd probably see that floor raised a little bit more in that scenario. But if both those guys are in, he's probably playing sub 30 minutes again, and he's somewhat expensive now. The other part of his question was specifically for FanDuel. Eric, what do you make of Marcus Morris and Domantas Sabonis on FanDuel? Are these guys you're getting to?
So Marcus Morris, we'll start with that one because you have no Kawhi once again. He's 5K. I think he's more of a safety valve for me. I think he's going to be somebody that I get to a lot in the event that Memphis does not work out the way that I want it to. And he's somebody I'm probably going to get to very little of in the event that the Memphis news goes the opposite way, where I get to all of the Memphis pieces. So he's somebody that I've got right now in 15, 20% of lineups. Let's see. He was, 16% of lineups, whatever. I would probably get to a lot more than that with John Morant and Desmond Bane both ruled in. So just kind of be aware that that's the trickle down effect of the way it would work out. Who was the other person that you asked?
Sabonis.
Sabonis is an awesome play today. Like he's been very like this team has been very, very bad, but he is 7,700 on FanDuel. Like I have an unlimited amount. He's my highest owned player right now. I don't really know what you're supposed to do other than play him today.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll point out too, the reason that some of his fantasy results haven't been great this year, on a per minute basis they have. We were talking before about Isaiah Stewart potentially getting into foul trouble. Nobody's gotten into foul trouble quite like Sabonis this year. I don't think there's been a time I've rostered him that he hasn't just gotten to insta foul trouble on any slate. It's happened to him a bunch this year. His recent games, last game he fouled out in 23 minutes against the Heat. The game before that against the Grizzlies, limited due to foul trouble, plays 31 minutes, 4 personal fouls. Game before that against the Warriors, he plays 22 minutes. Game before that, 35 minutes against the Clippers, 4 personal fouls out the game before then. So he's had one game where he's basically played full minutes. That's going to change. We're going to see him avoid foul trouble. And when that happens, the points per minute production is going to be there. The rebounds are certainly going to be there for him on this team. So I'm with you. I think Sabonis is a really good option today.
We're in a lot of trouble, let me tell you. Melton is starting. Good news.
All right, cool.
Good news.
Good news, everyone. Eric Traub. Now that Eric is a ref, will he be calling fouls or fouls?
Oh, see, I was waiting for it. Somebody had to be that guy. I'm glad it was you, Eric, you piece of shit.
But which one are you going to call?
I'm going to call him Flolales, just to fuck with you, because I don't care anymore. Let's see. Let's go fouls just for today. Once again,
Like
back
the
to the
bird.
OG pronunciation, like the bird.
Ruguru 228 DK Cash. How much early chalk 76ers can I take? So for cash game purposes on DK, I think you need a lot of 76ers. I think you need Melton. I think you need Maxey, and I think you need Harden in DK Cash. Would you?
You
agree?
should have all three in cash. I'm pretty sure. Hang on a sec. Let me do this as I'm finishing this out. Josh Giddey out for tomorrow. Good news. That's not good for me. He's in my year long, but whatever. I'll have to adjust that lineup. We've got 29 minutes, but let's see. Let me go back to DK. I'm spending a lot more time on FanDuel. I'm just like playing the $4 and a couple of random lineups on DK. I think you're playing Melton and Maxey. Those are stone cold locks. Now, here is where it gets interesting for me. I do think that positionally, because you're going to get guard value showing up possibly later with Memphis, it just comes down to, like, for me, I would want all the Tyus Jones and all the land if we knew that we had Melton and John Moran out. I think everybody's kind of on board with that. I would probably want to get to some other position like power forward. I think Tobias Harris probably falls more into the must-have for cash situation. He's 5,500 on DraftKings, so I'm going to kind of amend it. I probably prefer going Melton, Maxey, Harris, and then keeping that money open for something else. Like Pascal Siakam, I think, is 100% in your cash lineup as well, 8,900. And then Alperen Şengün, I'm in love with for today's slate. So that's going to be fun to talk about too. He's another quote unquote opportunity for me to backload my lineups. And yeah, I don't think Harden's a must for DK Cash just because I want to have one of those roster spots open. I strongly prefer Maxey and I strongly prefer DeAnthony Melton. So I will say Harden no.
Yeah, so here's where it gets tricky for me. By the way, my two most rostered players on DraftKings right now are Melton and Maxey. I think the two best point per dollar plays on the slate.
Agreed.
Cash games, no brainer, you're playing them. But I have Harden projected for 56 fantasy points on DraftKings at $9,600. It's really hard for me to not recommend that as somebody you have to play in cash games.
I guess for me, I think I want to have Harris in that lineup too. He's 5,500. You'd get 4 pieces from the early window. And I think that's probably too much for cash. And so I'd rather take the 5,500 for Harris for the opportunity. How many points do you have Giannis projected for?
Giannis for 61.
I mean, that's 5-6 more than Harden. I understand the blowout factor, yada, yada.
It's also $3,000 more expensive.
I get it, but the money doesn't really matter if you get Morant and if you get both of the pieces of news to break your way in that evening window. You get Brooks with multi-positional eligibility. You get Aldama. You get Conchar. You get other pieces of value. Maybe this is just me. Maybe I should play cash today and kind of see how this works, but I think Harris needs to be a part of that lineup as well. We've now, let me update, because I'm assuming we had him moving up the board. He's at 26% now over on DK. That puts him as the highest owned forward that exists over there. I think you're playing 3 of those guys, 24% now, 24%. I would play Harris. I would play Maxey. Again, have those 2 guard spots. I just don't want to use up a guard spot knowing that those are where those 2 pieces from Memphis are, because I strongly would, if I knew that both Melton, or sorry, I keep saying Melton because he was, whatever, he's on the mind. If you get Bane and you get John Morant ruled out, I so strongly prefer every piece of Memphis there for my other guard spot that I wouldn't want Harden taking it up as the salary spend up. And then salary doesn't even really become a thing. And I just want highest projection, and it would become Giannis super, super quickly. So I understand it might be more of a risk than you're willing to take, but if you're going to be around your lineup all night, get to Giannis as the other piece for the spend up, and don't use up a guard spot on Harden and cash.
So my highest projected lineup, for what it's worth, on DraftKings has Melton, Harden, Harris, and Maxey all in it.
But that's not... What would you project Tyus Jones for if you get both Melton? God, I did it again. If you get both Bane and Morant ruled out,
probably like 30, low 30s fantasy points.
I have him for 37. That is huge at 6K. That's over 6X. So if you want to talk about it in terms of that, I would also want to get to Conchar or Brooks. Well, I for sure would get to Brooks. Brooks would be just a slam dunk in that kind of event here too. Again, it's a game of the 230 total where they would have all the usage going through those 2. Tyus Jones in the past, when we've gotten John Morant ruled out, he's played upwards of like 36 minutes in those spots. That last game against Golden State in the playoffs, he's played mid 30s minutes, 35 minutes. I'm going through the box score, 32 in a start on February 15th, 30 there against the Clippers. They blew them out. Mid 30s minutes of Tyus Jones at 6K is something I would want in my cash lineup.
It would be on the fence for me, but here's the issue. I think that's more of a tournament play than a cash game play, because you're just drawing dead if Morant plays.
No, you're not. You have Alperen Şengün that is just a monster. 5,200. His tag keeps going down even though he started the last 2 games. So that's a utility safety valve type play. So I think you've got that. And then If you're going to have a guard spot open, you just simply find some way to get to Reggie Jackson from the Clippers. I know that sounds terrible and awful in theory, but 5,300 for Reggie Jackson, if I ended up landing on that in cash, as opposed to a spend up of Harden, I wouldn't be kicking myself in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I just have Harden projected really well, so it would be hard for me to justify otherwise, but I get it. There's different ways to play it. I personally am looking to late swap a little more aggressively in tournaments than in cash games, and I would take the floor of Harden. But now with that said, I'm going to push for Harden having a really high floor when he just sucked in the same spot a few days ago. So maybe the floor not as high as I am making it out to be, but let's move on and see if there are any other super chats or questions we got in the Discord channel.
I want it to also be clear that I don't dislike Harden today. Like, that's not what this is at all. That's not the conversation. I think it makes a lot of sense that as of right now, he's in your highest projected lineup. I don't think that's necessarily the case in an hour with more information.
Super chat from Anthony Davis. Good luck, everybody. Question about these Roddy and LaRavia characters. I don't know much about them, but they log a ton of minutes on Memphis with potential players out. Thoughts? Yeah, a lot of guys come into play for Memphis if we find out that Desmond Bane and or John Morant are out. But it's very dependent on those guys being out. By the way, LaRavia himself is questionable. He's also dealing with an illness. So that's something else that could obviously impact his ability to get on the court. But as of right now, I wouldn't play LaRavia, and he needs both Morant and Bane to be out for me to consider him, and he needs to be in himself.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Yeah, being in is kind of a requirement of me rostering them. Roddy is a fantasy point monster in the he's had very limited sample. 28 minutes without Morant and Bane on the floor, 1.38 DraftKings points per minute. So he's definitely somebody that's on the radar for me as well. I don't think he's going to be nearly the priority of Tyus Jones, who, by the way, 20 minutes this season without Morant and Bane, 1.24 DraftKings points per minute, but we already know that. He's been right around 1 historically. It's kind of the baseline for him when I'm crunching out stuff without Morant and Bane. I kind of am straddling the middle where I put a cap on both Morant and Bane. I have some preloaded amounts of each, just trying to figure out the right amount. It's more of a preference thing, and there's really no exact way to do it. I just want to make sure I get to as much Bane as possible. If he gets ruled in and Morant gets ruled out, I want to be getting to the inverse as well, as much Morant as possible in the event that Bane gets ruled out and I don't have Giannis on that slate to be able to get to as my spend up, who I would prioritize a lot more than Morant either way. But the other guy, Jake LaRavia, he's Wake Forest kid. He's very, very good at basketball from ACC days. I think he's a pretty good basketball player, but I think he's probably outperformed early on in the season compared to what you would expect his baseline to be without Morant and Bane. We'll see how he ends up being long term, but I do think Roddy Tyus Jones, I would actually prefer him. Although the power forward, let's see, where's LaRavia at? Yeah, he's power forward only on FanDuel, 3,900. It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, it's going to depend how the news breaks, who's going to be in, who's going to be out, and then what the starting lineup is too, because I don't really know who they're going to start if Morant and Bane are both out. Jones would be one of them, but I'm not. I guess it would be Jones, Brooks, Conchar, Aldama, Adams. Would that be the 5?
Yes. I mean, Adams, Clark could slide in there. Santi Aldama.
Clark over Aldama?
No. It would be definitely Brandon Clark coming off the bench. He's not starting, but I'm saying like you could find some iteration where I guess Aldama would play the 3, but I doubt it.
Super chat from our guy Emac. Can we get some Mark Cohn from Eric and then a duck emoji?
Some what?
Yeah, I don't know what that is either. I was reading and I was like, is this a prank name that Emac has sent us? Mark Cohn? Is this his neighbor? It's probably his neighbor, isn't it?
Oh my God. No, it's the guy who sings Walking in Memphis. Put on my blue suede shoes and I boarded a plane. Touchdown.
This is
the land of the Delta Blues. The middle of the pouring rain.
Incredibly obscure request from Emac.
Well, I know the song, so that's the only thing. W.C. Handy. Would you look down over me?
Never heard this in my entire life.
You've never Walking in Memphis, walking with my feet 10 feet off of Beale. You've never heard Walking in Memphis. Have you ever done karaoke in your life? The answer is probably no.
Yeah, but not for a very long time. Jordan, do you know what this song is? You can be the tiebreaker here. All right, there we go. 2-1. 2-1. Eric, you lose. Emac's been dunked on.
Oh my God.
Jordan
That was
steals the
why
show.
people catching strays. Greg caught a stray on Twitter. Emac catching a stray after giving us money. The company he works for, he gave us money and then we shit on him. That was very nice of you, Jordan Klein.
Today's show is sponsored by No House Advantage. If you guys haven't signed up in No House Advantage yet, a few things are going to be working in your favor. There's a ton of overlay at No House Advantage. We don't really see that on FanDuel and DraftKings anymore. No House Advantage, there's all kinds of money being given away in overlay and prize pools. When you sign up for the first time and you click on the link below, you're getting up to a $50 bonus on your first deposit. And there's a new way to play over on NHA props against the house. So use some of the projections we have over at Stokastic.com and use them to find the best player props to go over or under on No House Advantage. So let's get back to, what are you doing? You're muted.
The brim of my hat, son of a bitch. You were waiting for the opportunity, Jordan. You were waiting where you just make up a conversation with me and I don't know that I'm muted for like a minute. It's so going to happen very, very shortly in my life. But the brim of my hat, like as a golfer, like I'm used to looking down doing it, but like I hate it when it's directly in my view and I see the bill of the cap. It drives me completely nuts.
Quack,
quack, quack, kind of flip it around.
Yeah, you said
Quack,
bill, so I said quack, quack.
I got the joke. It was hilarious. I know everybody just fell off their dinosaur. It's fine.
Hey, Emac left the duck emoji too and left the weirdest super chat that I think we've ever gotten. That was, at least it was better. It was better than Miami Mike. Miami Mike left a super chat on Saturday also without you there. And I kind of put Lamarca on the spot. He was confused by the entire situation.
Did you do it?
No, Lamarca did. Who did? Lamarca did an impression of somebody else instead. I can't remember who he did.
Oh my God.
Oh, he did. I don't remember.
Lamarca's got a couple good impressions. I miss that guy. I wish I could do shows with him instead of you, but you know, we can't get everything we want in life.
Hey, if I no longer had to work anymore, it wouldn't be the end of the world either. That would be a decent situation. Actually, it wouldn't be. I don't have anything to do with myself other than these shows. Let's get back to it's true. I don't have anything else going on.
I'm dead inside with a smile.
No, I enjoy, but I also enjoy doing this.
Yeah, it's fun.
Because we have, sometimes people say like, oh, if I won the Millie Maker on DraftKings, I'd stop working here. Like, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but if Adam wins the Millie Maker next Sunday, we will never hear from him again in our entire
Never
lives.
again.
Guaranteed.
Never
We will
again.
never hear from him again. I would show up the next. It doesn't make a difference to me. This is what I like doing.
Same, but we have more money than Adam, so there's that. It's true.
Super chat from Eric Traub. It's definitely Joaquin in Memphis for Eric.
Wow. Is that like a Joaquin Phoenix wrapped in the joke of Mark Cohn, wrapped in the joke of everything else? Is it like a Joaquin Phoenix resemblance thing?
I thought maybe you liked Joaquin Neiman.
Oh, yeah, no, he's a damn dirty traitor. We don't talk about him anymore.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was a live dig. It could go a lot of ways. It's funny on a lot. I don't know if he meant it to be this way. It's funny on a lot of levels, though.
It is pretty funny.
Let's try to go because we had so much news that's come in.
I'm finishing on my lineups, so it's fine by me.
I figure, what if we go position by position and try to shout out just the players that we've gotten the most exposure to? I could do it for
That's a good
DraftKings,
idea.
You could do it for FanDuel.
Perfect.
I think that'll be a good way to sum it up with 15 minutes left. And
Love
then we
it.
can see what questions come in the final stretch.
Mm-hmm.
So for me at point guard on DraftKings, my most rostered player is, Melton and Maxey towards the top. Maxey has point guard eligibility and not shoot. So I'll say Maxey as my pay down option at point guard and Harden as my spend up option.
Okay. At point guard on FanDuel, I have Tyus Jones and D'Anthony Melton. They're both cheapies. So there you go. And then Kyrie Irving, I don't want to do it. It doesn't feel good to do it. He's a weird human being, but he is really cheap at 9,500 without Ben Simmons out there. I expect he'd have to create a little bit more. I want to be spending up a little bit for some of these guys, and he kind of fits into the stars and scrubs mold a little bit more. I guess Tyus Jones doesn't really, but D'Anthony Melton gives you the opportunity to just kind of build it in. We'll talk about it later, but Giannis is still the guy that I want to be spending up for the absolute most. You get a really cheap opportunity to roster tons of Domantas Sabonis, which I just can't get away from. So yeah, we'll continue on, but Kyrie would be my highest spend up, even though I don't have like a crazy amount of him.
So we just got I wasn't getting alerts from Discord and they just all came in at once. So Stephen Leibowitz, how do we feel about a very low owned and still inexpensive Colin Sexton on DK and FanDuel? He got up to 31 minutes last game GPP play. So the reason he got up to 31 minutes last game was because Mike Conley was resting. And here's what I think the situation is with Colin Sexton. So people have been saying, and I think reasonably so, that the Jazz have been bringing him along slowly because he had the surgery last year. I don't actually think that's what it is. I think Mike Conley's just better than him. They think Mike Conley's better than him. They don't want to play Mike Conley and Colin Sexton together all that much. And that's just limited the minutes of Colin Sexton naturally. Because Sexton played 31 minutes last game. It's not like the minutes limit just magically disappeared for one game. I just think he's well behind Mike Conley on the depth chart. It's hard for me to get there with Conley active.
Same.
The next question here is from 024631. What's the difference between Maxey and Tyus if Ja is ruled out? I would still have Maxey projected better. Tyus would be considerably lower on though.
Exactly.
Jets World. Is there a priority play in the Sacramento-Charlotte game for cash on DK with all the news up in the air?
Not a single one.
Not for cash.
Not a single one. Dennis Smith Jr. would be the closest you would get, or De'Aaron Fox, but like they're such distant plays for cash. It's not even a conversation.
Yeah, there's upside. Like I have some exposure to guys like Kelly Oubre and Gordon Hayward, but nobody I would say is a must play in cash games or a priority. The Blank Mamba wants to know, what are we doing with Tobias Harris? Really good points per dollar play on both DraftKings and FanDuel. I think Melton and Maxey are better points per dollar plays on DraftKings, but Tobias Harris, really strong play on both sites.
Yep.
Sam Cassell Dance, Reggie Jackson and Kelly Oubre, or Maxey and Jalen Smith? I prefer Maxey and Jalen Smith.
Maxey and Jalen Smith. But I don't have Jalen Smith really. So I just, there's no way that you're going to put Maxey into 2v2 for DraftKings purposes. And I'm not going to pick that side of it.
Tall Tale, is 4 Philly players too much for DK single entry in GPP? For GPP, that's a little much for me on this slate.
Yeah. So you're basically going to pick out, I'm assuming the 4 are Melton, Maxey, Harris, Harden in some capacity, because everybody else doesn't project well. I would make a rule. I'm actually going to make a rule now for DK, even just because of the Memphis value coming up. I would have 3 of the 4. Getting to 4 just feels a little bit thin, and it doesn't give you enough swappability. And that's the other thing where it's like, I prefer getting to Harris for cash. Greg prefers getting to Harden for cash, but I wouldn't have 4 of them with Memphis looming.
Yeah. So for cash games, I would play all 4, not in tournaments though. And,
okay. I would play 3 of 4 still.
Astros Phillies postponed today for anybody who cares about the baseball game. But yes,
I do. Jordan Clyde. Woo! We don't have to do the video for tonight. It'd be the same analysis. It's the same guys going, unless they're going to just move.
No. Syndergaard's not going to start tomorrow now.
Syndergaard's going to seriously. Are they going to go Nola? Is Nola lined up to do it?
Syndergaard's terrible. If they could start anybody other than Syndergaard, you'd think they're.
I don't know. Well, I just smashed Houston -1.5. I smashed the over at 7.5 yesterday, moved to 8. I felt pretty good about what we got in early from yesterday's video, but well, shit. Thanks for rating on that parade. Literally, Greg.
Hey, that was an act of God. I didn't do that. God did it to you. Take it up with him. By the way, if you guys want other ways to make money on sports betting, because maybe you had great bets like Eric that you were positive we're going to win on tonight's baseball game.
Shut up.
And now they don't exist anymore because the game got rained out.
Please shut up.
Here's the good news, because I've got a bet for you that you absolutely cannot lose. If you sign up at BetMGM for the first time, clicking on the link below in the description box, you place a $10 money line bet on any NBA game tonight and pays out $200 as long as there's a 3-pointer hit. And
smash.
You typically don't have to worry about rain in basketball games. Like once a year it happens.
New Orleans.
Yeah, and it's always a game that's the most popular on the slate. But for all intents and purposes, this game isn't going to get rained out. You're going to win $200.
Yeah, just you don't even have to send an email to get it reimbursed.
Yeah. click on the
send
link.
Right away, by the way. Learned that the hard way.
Right away. That didn't used to be the rule on DK, by the way.
What did it used to be?
It used to be just they refunded the entire slate if something went wrong, no matter what. Now you have to email them.
Eric looking for his wine. I've got coffee, bro. I need to keep energized because I got a long night ahead of me.
Well, oh, because what do you have to record tonight?
So I record an NBA video. I record an MLB video after this. I put in my own bets and get everything situated that I need to for the next day. And then I must go party like it's 1999 Prince style.
Are you going to a Halloween party?
I am.
Nice. Yeah, I'll just be here handing out candy. It's gonna be a blast.
Lucky.
And we are all caught up on the questions in Discord, super chats. A couple more of them came in right now. Teddy Wayman, thoughts on Paul George on FanDuel? Thanks, guys. Eric, you are the resident Paul George expert. Are you playing him on FanDuel today?
Yeah. That wasn't very nice. I know it was I know you were like trying to be funny and stuff, but I didn't find what you did very appropriate. He's a smash though on FanDuel. You just play a ton of him.
So also though, you are playing. I'm playing more on DraftKings today. You're playing more on FanDuel. So you were the appropriate person to answer the question.
I know, but here's why it's such a beautiful slate for this. FanDuel, you get some real cheapies in Houston, LAC. So I'm just backloading all my lineups. You have Powell's 4,300. You have Terrence Mann at 4K. You have Jalen Green, who it's not apocalyptic if you end up there at the end of the night. But for me, those three specifically, I'm just preloading lineups with them, and then I'm going to turn them into Memphis if everything breaks the way I want to. Terrence Mann's overowned. You shouldn't play him. I don't want to play him in the event that, we get to the late night window, but it gives me another lineup spot that I can hopefully turn into a Memphis guy. So I'm just playing those three in bulk before the slate even starts.
I think it makes sense. I don't have any issue with that. And also with Paul George, I'm fairly concerned about Kawhi Leonard at this point. Paul George also, they've been bringing him on slowly. At a certain point, though, the Clippers are going to have to really say, hey, it's time to start winning basketball games. And no John Wall, no Kawhi Leonard. They didn't play yesterday. I think we do probably, at least this is the best opportunity for a ceiling Paul George game we've seen so far this year.
Correct.
Next
correct.
Next super chat is from Joseph Volante. Michael Meyer, Freddy Krueger, or Jason in a points per dollar play? Michael, it has to be Mike Myers.
Yeah, Mike Myers he's the GOAT, man. Freddy Krueger, overrated. Like, if you had a dude with knives and stuff coming at you, it'd be one thing, but like the mask and the inability to get go to hell or something, like it keeps showing up. Like Freddy Krueger is just like a scary looking dude. I find scary looking things not all that scary because I'm more terrified about people who look normal and then just wear a hockey mask. Like that's freaky to me.
And Mike Myers, which of them killed the most people?
Krueger kills people in their sleep. So he has an eternal Rolodex of opportunities to just murder people.
Mike Myers, though, of those movies.
I agree. Yep. Same. Freddy Krueger. Jason is just, nobody cares about Jason.
Yeah. No, totally.
He's PJ Tucker. He's just out there playing meaningless minutes.
Ben Anthony, super chat. Piece of advice: fade Adam and follow Eric. Eric, thoughts?
Never heard a better super chat in my life.
Ben Anthony, that is a well spent $1.99.
Yeah. Is what it is.
The super chats, and we have answered everything in Discord. So let's try to get back, and I just uploaded my lineups. So let's go back to trying to do the position by position and just banging out the players that we have the most exposure to. And I think we just did point guard. Yeah, so we talked about point guard. So for me, Melton and Harden, shooting guard for me, or I'll say guard in general, Melton, Harden, Maxey for me. Who are the shooting guards you're getting the most to?
I just uploaded my lineups again. I have to refresh this and sent over. There it is. All right. Norman Powell goes into the bucket. D'Anthony Melton, obviously. Paul George. Drew Holiday showing up a lot for me.
Kyle Y3. Eric just said Michael Myers is the GOAT, but in reality, it's Dylan Brooks. We'll see. Could be by the end of the night. Could be.
We are so screwed.
Small forward for me, Lauri Markkanen, Scotty Barnes, Tobias Harris. I'm just going to do small forward and power forward together. There's too many players with multi-position eligibility. Scotty Barnes, Lauri Markkanen, Tobias Harris, Jared Vanderbilt.
Jared Vanderbilt, talk to me. What's his tag on DK again?
5,300.
Oh, God. We're screwed again. Oh no, we suck again. Norman Powell, Giannis Antetokounmpo, small forward on FanDuel. Paul George, Kevin Durant, Scotty Barnes.
One of these days, Vanderbilt isn't going to get into insta foul trouble. He's going to play 34 minutes and score like 50 fantasy points.
Yeah, well,
somewhere around. Because
one of these days,
such a good points per minute fantasy producer, and he gets in foul trouble so ridiculously quickly. First game of the year, he fouled out in 18 minutes, and in those 18 minutes, he had 14 rebounds and 4 steals.
Seems ideal.
Got some more questions. Oh, let's do center real quick, then we can answer these questions. So center for me, Pascal Siakam and Miles Turner.
Yeah, on DK, pretty impossible to get away from that. Same thing for me. Center, I mean, you're not playing. Sabonis is what, 8,200 on DK?
Sabonis is...
Because I think he was my highest owned center on both, from what I understand. Let me double check. Getting over. All right,
Sabonis,
got all my
82.
FanDuels uploaded. Now I got to just put in some trash on DK quick.
Yeah, he's
BRB.
Okay.
Yeah, seems pretty okay with me. Let's go 26 lineups there for DK. We've got 3 minutes. That'll be fine. And then we'll be able to talk after the fact a little bit more concretely. But center for FanDuel, Domantas Sabonis, Pascal Siakam, Bobby Portis, and Miles Turner.
Center. Oh yeah, I just read mine.
Yeah,
So
and I have Zubats too at 15%. This is the least amount of Zubats I've ever had on a slate in the year of our Lord 2022, and I don't like it.
Yeah, for me, by the way, I think Sabonis is a really good points per dollar play. Just other guys, I've got more of Siakam, more Turner.
Oh, and Şengün too. Şengün's just a smash.
Yeah, so there's just other. I do agree with you. I think that's a really favorable price point on Sabonis. There's just other guys with even more favorable price points.
Yep, agreed.
Jordan Klein, favorite part of the Human Centipede movie.
Where
when
is
they
this
show
coming
that
from?
guy's face to the other guy's asshole, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Next
let's
super
go. Hell yeah, Pards.
Yeah, it's like a documentary of my life. Ryan Rennebaum, who dies first from Stokastic staff in a horror film? Probably Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler's fucked.
Yeah. Because Tyler's got his dumb conspiracy theories. They'd be like, hey, everybody.
Well, guys, we got to figure out the way to do the thing about the thing.
What would happen is they'd tell him that he has to evacuate because there's some sort of crisis. And he'd be like, no, I'm being set up. This is the government trying to do something.
Well,
to me
sometimes the government just decides, oh, I'm going to take it all. And then you're screwed.
Yeah,
it's like I'm screwed at getting my lineups in right now.
Clearly, Tyler.
I'm not going to get them in.
Uh-oh, that's so good. It's going to be a sweat. We
Sure
got like
is.
30 seconds.
Do I have 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Oh, then I've got enough time.
All
I thought I had less.
Go, Eric, go. Any other questions that we have in here? No, I think we're pretty much all caught up. We're just waiting for Eric. This is how we're going to close the show here. Just waiting for Eric to upload his lineups. By the way, if you guys haven't done yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and the NFL Live Before Lock show right on after this. So go check out football as well if you guys are looking to play some showdown lineups. Did you get your lineups in time?
Yeah, perfect. No problem whatsoever. Perfect.
Yeah, you had like a whole 6 seconds to spare.
Dude, if you've done this enough times, you just fire it off in bulk in 5. It shouldn't take you more than 15 seconds.
The other thing also is that Tyler's high all the time, and he would definitely
Well, the thing about Texas is you probably can't deal with the things because the people in the world. I know it's crazy. I hate working, but I love working. And here's the thing: I don't know.
If you get toast DoorDashed to you over the course of the day, you're not surviving in a horror film. You're the first to go, and that should be the case as well.
This looks like a fun pond to go hang out with. Oh, what's this chainsaw? This looks fun.
Guys, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't done it yet, one more time, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and go check out the NFL show. It's going to be going on right now.